The Edmonton Eskimos' awesome offense. Jim Germany, leading rusher in the Western Conference. Waddell Smith, the league's #1 receiver, 13 touchdowns. Brian Kelly, 11 touchdowns. Rookie sensation of the year. Montreal defense, Dickie Harris, a record 3 punt return touchdowns. Tom Cousineau, fast, and now more effective at middle linebacker. Junior Ayu, defensive end of a unit with 5 quarterback sacks per game. Edmonton defense, Dan Kepley, the award winner, leads the Alberta crew. Carl Cornell traded away by Montreal. He has a score to settle. Larry Highball, pass defense, 10 interceptions this season. Montreal offense, David Green, who predicted he'd rush for 1,600 yards. He did. Ray Watrin, star at opening holes in the offensive line. John O'Leary, a great year rushing, but a pass threat as well. And the kicking matchup, Dave Cutler, who set 4 career records this season. Don Sweet, who set a record himself, reaching 155 consecutive converts this season. Live from Olympic Stadium, the CFL presents the Western Conference champions, the Edmonton Eskimos, and the Eastern Conference champions, the Montreal Alouettes. In the past 5 years, these two teams have met 4 times. This afternoon, the rubber match. Grey Cup 79. Football fans, 68,000 of them are clicking through the turnstiles and settling in for an afternoon of thrills and excitement wherever you are. We hope to add to your enjoyment of the game. Hello again, everybody. I'm Tom McKee, and welcome back to Olympic Stadium. In just a few minutes, the opening kickoff of this great annual Fall Classic. This is the 3rd time the Grey Cup has been held here in Montreal. The first was 1969, won by Ottawa over Saskatchewan at the old Autostad. The second was 2 years ago when the Alouettes swamped the Eskimos right here at Olympic Stadium. Yes, there's a magic about Olympic Stadium. It started in 1976, of course, the Olympic Games. And since then, football, baseball, soccer, track and field, and even rock concerts have taken over. Cheers we heard in 76 will echo again this afternoon. Will those cheers be for Edmonton or Montreal? We will wait and see. Pre-game festivities are underway here in Montreal. We are now just 25 minutes away from the Grey Cup 79 kickoff. The buzz of the crowd is getting louder, and down there among the thousands are today's sideline reporters, Bill Stevenson and Don Whitman.
Well, Tom, Bill Stevenson and I were remarking just moments ago that in our years of covering football, we can't recall weather conditions being this good.
No, and it's been a lot of years, too. And I'd like to tell you, football fans, don't let the uniform that Don has on here fool you. He just came from Winnipeg and maybe needed it. You don't hear. The temperature's in the mid-40s. They say it could climb up to the 50s. You know, we were trying to think back, Don, and I've been talking to a lot of people. I've been covering Grey Cup since 1954, and the only time I can recall weather approaching this was Vancouver, about 58.
Right, but I can recall some awfully bad ones, such as 1975 in Calgary, 2 years ago right here.
I can't recall being so comfortable. That's the kind of day we have for the Grey Cup. There's another point to it. Having been around the Grey Cup for a long time, a lot of the young reporters are coming up and saying, do you notice any difference in the fever? My paper wants us to do a story on how the Grey Cup's going down. I'll tell you, if anything, it's going up. I have met more people from all across Canada at this Grey Cup than any other. I mean, maybe I got around a little more, I don't know, but it's certainly has the Grey Cup fever and the festival atmosphere.
Maybe people just have a better capacity for consuming the grape.
You may have hit the point.
Well, Montreal, of course, such a cosmopolitan area. There are so many major hotels, and I suppose it's spread out a little more. In Toronto, which is as large, but everything seems to be concentrated in one area. The same when it was in Calgary or in Vancouver.
That's right. It was in the one major hotel, whereas here, as you pointed, it was. But, you know, the people in Montreal, too, have gone all out. All the cab drivers I've ridden with this week, and there have been many, they all talk Grey Cup. They all say, hope you have a great time. The atmosphere has been sensational.
I came in from the airport, and the cab driver even had a television set in the front seat of his cab. I hope he isn't going to be doing too much driving while he's watching the action.
Don, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you who you're picking for this game.
Well, I kind of like the Edmonton Eskimos. I followed them throughout most of the season and was involved in quite a number of the Edmonton Eskimo telecasts. An explosive scoring machine. They averaged 39 points per game at home. They set a new record this year for total points during the course of the season. I think they should win it. However, the Alouettes have always been tough in a Grey Cup game. I think you probably lean to Montreal.
Well, let me put it this way. On the statistics, there's no question Edmonton is the superior ball club. And if you pick it that way, and usually you do, you go to Edmonton. But I can't find anybody picking Montreal. So many people going for Edmonton, I kind of feel that this is the mark of an upset. And don't be surprised. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Montreal did. Their defense has never been better. They go into this game probably at the peak. Only one thing, the missing of Dan Yoakum. That's got to hurt them a bit in the offensive line.
Well, at the conclusion of the game, we'll be in the winning team's dressing room. Now, let's go back upstairs to Tom McKee.
The pregame show is underway here at Olympic Stadium. This will be a salute to Canada and Canadian youth, is presented by men and women from Canada's Naval Reserve. The presentation will open with a field gun crew from HMCS Carleton under the command of Sub-Lieutenant Rael Thibault. Running into center field, they will take positions, and there will be the firing of a gun. Now, as that gun fires, a color party with flags of Canada's territories and provinces and the flags of the CFL teams will take up their position as they are doing now on the field. They are accompanied by the band with a medley of Canadian and provincial songs. So let us listen. In just a few moments, we'll go back down to field level and catch some more of the pregame festivities. But as has been the case in years past, this telecast of the 1979 Grey Cup game will feature the top commentators of Canada's major networks. It is my pleasure to introduce them to you now. Calling the play-by-play will be Don Chevrier. Don is working his 10th Grey Cup. He is joined by Pat Marsden, who will be working the first half of this afternoon's football game. They, of course, will be joined by the color commentators, Frank Rigney, an award-winning lineman, and Russ Jackson, a Canadian legend who retired following the Grey Cup game just exactly 10 years ago. Expert analysis will come from Mike Wadsworth, who has a wealth of playing experience, and Terry Evanson, who played in both conferences. Everybody is asking and wondering what will happen in the game today. Will it be offense, or will the defense take over? With a closer look, let's check in with Frank Rigney and Russ Jackson and see what they think about it.
Russ, even though we've both been rather offensively oriented throughout our careers, I think defense, with the track record of these two ball clubs, is going to be very dominant this afternoon.
Frank, whenever you play a sudden death football game, especially a Grey Cup game, as we both know, defense often wins for you. And the Edmonton Eskimos, with the acquisition of Carl Cornell and being able to run that 3-4 defense, have become really an awesome defensive power.
Well, they certainly have, and they have a wide variety of defenses because of personnel. Towns and Potter on the outside here, the linebackers that are circled, come on a blitz quite often, particularly on a first down in a passing situation when the field position dictates that. Carl Cornell and Dan Kepley fill the inside, and I really think that 3-4 defense is rather vulnerable against a run, that, of course, being the long suit of the Montreal Alouettes. So I think the Edmonton Eskimos will really have a variety of defenses out there this afternoon, dictated, of course, by personnel and field position. The Montreal Alouettes, on the other hand, have a very standard type of defense.
That's true, Frank. They like to play a 4-4 type of defense, and I think they feel they cannot cover the Edmonton Eskimos man-to-man. They feel they have to play zone defense, and when you do that, you have to play a real team defense. You must get the 4 short defenders covering the entire width of the field. And along with that, you have to get a good pass rush. The front 4 must put some pressure on the Edmonton quarterbacks, but then the 8 defensive secondary men must cover the entire width of the field. And here we have good coverage with Larry Utek underneath the intended receiver and Dickie Harris behind that receiver. And I believe that throughout the afternoon, the Montreal defense is going to have to do this because that Edmonton club is going to live by the pass. And if they can't play team defense, I think they're going to have some problems.
Plus, I think you've hit the number one thing. If you have to pick out one factor in this football game that's going to be the most significant, can the Alouettes put enough pressure on the quarterbacks from the Edmonton Eskimos?
Well, when you're playing zone defense, which I think they have to do, they have to bank on that front four, and if they can, they have a chance of winning.
Well, that's what we think will happen defensively. Here's Terry Evanson and Mike Wadsworth. They'll talk about offense.
Michael, the distinct advantage the Edmonton Eskimos have over the Montreal Alouettes is the quarterbacking of Warren Moon and Tom Wilkinson. Tom Wilkinson, the leading percentage passer in Canadian Football League history. Warren Moon, the touchdown king in Canadian football today. I don't think Montreal can stop him.
I think you're probably right there, Terry. And, of course, they're ably assisted by their outstanding receiving corps. And I think particularly this afternoon, Tommy Scott, their outstanding interior receiver, could be a big man because they'll be working against the zone coverage of the Alouettes. And I think particularly they might try to work against Larry Utek.
Well, there's no doubt about it that Tommy Scott is as fine a receiver in Canadian football. And if anybody can destroy the zone, Tommy Scott can. I look for him to have a great game this afternoon.
But, you know, when you talk about the Alouettes offensively, you have to think in terms of David Green right away. This man personally accounted for 40% of the yardage they gained. Undoubtedly, Joe Scannella would love to control the football this afternoon through his rushing efforts. He gained over 1,600 yards during the regular season.
Michael, they're going to come up against a 3-4. They got Kepley and Carl Cornell in the middle. I don't think they can run against it, even though it predicates that they should. We got two of the toughest linebackers in football in there, and I think they're going to stop David Green cold.
Terry, I don't think they'll stop him cold, but I do think they'll stop him. I do think that they'll have to go to the air, something the Alouettes don't really like to rely upon, but Joe Barnes has shown that he can run with the football himself, roll out and scramble, and he's got able receivers in terms of Bob Gaddis and Keith Baker, as well as Peter Dallariva, who hasn't been used an awful lot this year. He could be a big man this afternoon, but I'm sure they're going to have to go to the air, and it's all going to depend on whether Joe Barnes can come up with a better effort than he did last week against Ottawa.
Well, I don't think they can do it, Michael. I'm going to have to disagree a little bit. They haven't gone to their inside guys. Edmonton's outside linebackers and Potter and Towns can cover as well as anybody on the outside. Peter Dallariva is going to have a great game because their outside receivers can't work against Holloman and Heibach.
We're going to see soon.
It's going to be exciting.
We need a referee there. Well, you've heard what our experts think. Don Chevry is anxious to find out what the expert head coach of the Alouettes thinks. This is Grey Cup 79 from Montreal.
Coach Joe Scannella, the Alouettes, second time around. Not bad for your second year in the CFL, but this time you've got a team that everybody says is just unbeatable, or at least they feel they are with their pass receivers. You have to think that you've worked awfully hard against that defense practice this week.
They are an outstanding team. They do have great receivers, and they got good throwing quarterbacks, and, it's a great football team. In order to win the game, we have to play error-free football and control the ball somewhat and move it at the same time. Of course, play great defense and special teams. So it's like any other championship game. You got to play championship football. That's the way you win it.
I wouldn't think you would really change very much from the successful things you've done all season long for one game in 1 week's time.
No, they really can't do that. I mean, we won 16 games this year. We lost 4 and we tied 1. There's no way we can change now. We play the way we play, and that's the way we have to win.
You've got a rookie with a glorious opportunity playing offensive tackle and a veteran who I guess is kind of heartbroken now, and Danny Yoakum not being able to play in this Grey Cup game.
Yeah, I think Dan is extremely heartbroken. I think he looks forward to this game very much, and he's really feeling bad about it. And I feel bad for him, too, because I wanted him to play. I wanted him to have a chance to play in the Grey Cup. That's what he worked so hard for. He had a great second half of the season, just super. And he was ready to play, but now we have to play with Larry full. Those are the things that happen in football, and there's no getting away from them.
Coach, we've heard all week about the vaunted 3-4 defense of the Eskimos. Does that indeed perhaps give David Green, a back like you have, or John O'Leary, a chance to get the little jump against that 3-man line and do something?
Well, actually, that's not true. I think the 3-man line is a very good running defense. I think if you look around at the teams that play 3-4, in CFL and in the National Football League, they're all very good against the run, and I think that's true. I think they are. I don't think that their defense is any different than it was previously, however. They played a 5-2, which lines up exactly the same way, and they had an end down instead of a linebacker, but they play exactly the same way. It's no different. It's the same defense. The theories are the same. They have one guy standing up instead of being down in 3 points. That's the difference.
Coach, good luck to you and the Alouettes this afternoon.
Thank you very much, and we'll need some luck. We need our fans behind us, too.
You bet.
Thank you.
The top two teams are here in Grey Cup 79. The top officials are here as well. And the director of officiating is Bill Fry. Bill, I suppose the officials also feel the pressure of a Grey Cup, much like the players.
Oh, yes. They're up for the game just like the players are, I agree. And they feel the pressure, but once the game starts, they're in it.
Bill, how do you select the officials for the Grey Cup game? On the basis of what happened during the season?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. We keep track of we evaluate officials in every game, and all that's computed and recorded, and we try to get the best man for the big game.
Okay, tell us who you have on the staff today.
Well, we have Lauren Woods as referee in from Ottawa. Chuck Paul is the umpire from Ottawa. We have Gord Johnson from Winnipeg as the head linesman. Jim Hope Ross from Calgary as the line judge. Ross Perrier from Toronto as a back judge, and Maury Mulhern from Vancouver as the field judge. And we have two standbys today. Bud Ulrich from Winnipeg as a standby referee, and Al McColman from Hamilton as a standby other official.
Have you had to press the standby officials into service in any Grey Cup game?
Yes, just a couple of years ago in Toronto. Neil Payne from Winnipeg got what we say wiped out, and we had to replace him, yes.
Well, Bill, the excitement of the Grey Cup game here in Montreal, the weather conditions, we've talked about it throughout the day, absolutely ideal. And I'm sure, as the director of officiating, you're pleased to see that there are going to be no problems with wind or with ice or anything of that nature.
I hope there's no problem.
So far, it looks very, very good.
It's good.
Bill Fry, we hope that the officials don't have any controversial calls and all things go smoothly.
I thank you very much, Don.
Thank you very much, Bill Fry. And now, let's join Pat Marsden talking with Eskimo coach Hugh Campbell.
We're just moments away from the final game of the 1970s, Grey Cup time I'm talking about right now, and the man beside me has the opportunity to be the only coach in the CFL to coach back-to-back winners in the 1970s. I refer, of course, to Hugh Campbell. You look pretty loose for this big occasion.
Well, you just made me nervous by your statement. It's the time of day when I don't have a whole lot of control over what happens for the next hour or so until when we get that game going, then we'll be back to work. But at this point, the players are just getting ready.
Huey, everybody says you're supposed to win this one fairly easily. Does that concern you?
I haven't been talking to everybody, but that would be a ridiculous statement. No Western club has ever won the Grey Cup in modern history in the East, except the one time we did it last year, and the odds on us doing it twice in a row are very slim, particularly with Montreal playing in their home park.
You did a hammer job on them about a month and a half ago. Are you as good now as you were then, or are they better now than they were then?
Well, they've really improved. The acquisition of Jimmy Marshall, really angry at my friend Lancaster for letting them have Marshall, because that has really helped their secondary, and then they've been playing well. They're hitting it at a peak. You know, they haven't lost since they played us, and they're a good football club. I think that we're still a good football club, but it should come right down to the end, and it'll just be whether it's Cutler or Sweet.
Huey, do you play it close to the vest for the opening few minutes, or do you come out with guns blazing?
You're right.
Huey Campbell, good luck. It's always a pleasure.
And that's the scene from about 1,500 feet above the stadium facility here at the Big O as our live camera and the helicopter looks down on this afternoon's Grey Cup game. What a far different scene it is this year than it was 2 years ago when that field looked like a skating rink. You know, we've heard from the respective head coaches of the teams involved in today's Grey Cup game. Much of their work is now over. The planning and the strategy, the talk sessions, the screening of miles of film, and the selection of personnel. It's now a matter of execution, and that responsibility lies directly on the shoulders of the players. Let's meet them now.
Voici maintenant l'alignement débutant à la défensive des champions de la section Est, les Alouettes de Montréal. And now introducing a starting defensive lineup on the Eastern Conference champions, the Montreal Alouettes. Le numéro 68, number 68, ailier à gauche, left end, Tony Petrocchio. Le numéro 75, number 75, plaqueur à gauche, left tackle, Gordon Judges. Le numéro 64, 64, plaqueur à droite, right tackle, Glenn Weir. 77, 77, ailier à droite, right end, Junior Ayu. 62, 62, secondaire à gauche, left linebacker, William Hampton. 45, 45, secondaire au centre, middle linebacker, Tom Cousineau. North left, 39, secondaire à droite, right linebacker, Wally Milano. 18, 18, demi-point à gauche, left quarterback, Nicky Harris. 10, 15, demi-point à droite, right quarterback, Jim Marshall. 8, 8, demi à gauche, left halfback, Larry Ute. 16, 16, demi à droite, right halfback, Jim Burrow. 23, 23, demi de sûreté, baroudeur, Tony Bradford. L'entraîneur-chef, the head coach, Joe Scannella. Ses adjoints and assistants, Gene Gaines, Lamar Leachman, Nick Nichol, Jim Erkenbeck, et Joel Galat. L'alignement débutant à l'attaque des champions de la section ouest, les Eskimos d'Edmonton, now introducing his starting offensive lineup, the Western Conference champions, the Edmonton Eskimos. 70-70, ailier espacé, Brian Kelly. 22-22, slot back, demi-inséré, Tom Scott. 67-67, left tackle, bloqueur à gauche, Mike Wilson. 57-57, left guard, garde à gauche, Eric Upton. 53-53, center, Bob Howe. Right guard, numéro 56, garde à droite, Ted Miller. 62-72, rather 62, right tackle, bloqueur à droite, Bill Stevenson. 10-15, slot back, demi-inséré, Stuart Lane. Wide receiver, 71, ailier espacé, Waddell Smith. 25, 25, running back, demi, Jim Germany. 23, 23, demi, running back, Angelo Santucci. Et le quart, quarterback, numéro 12, number 12, Tom Wilkinson. Entraîneur-chef, the head coach, Hugh Campbell, that's why. Assistants, Joe Farragelli.
We are now going to have our official coin toss as they will have the captains and the referee going out onto the center field portion. You're looking at the officials who are working the game now, and they are Maury Mulhern, as you see, and Ross Perrier on your screen at the present time. The head official is Lorne Woods, and he will go out to center field for the coin toss. And the captains of the two squads will also be at center field. For the Montreal Alouettes, Tony Proudfoot, Joe Barnes, Gord Judges, and Jerry Friesen. They are now at center field and now going to center field for the Edmonton Eskimos. The captains of the squad, Tom Wilkinson, Dan Kepley, Bob Howes, David Boone, and Tom Towns. They are now making their way to center field along with Lorne Woods, who is the head official for this 1979 Grey Cup game, and Larry Highball, also amongst the captains of the Edmonton Eskimos. There you see Gord Judges exchanging a handshake with Tom Wilkinson, and all the captains
Montreal,
exchanging
you won
handshakes.
the toss. It's your choice. We will receive. You want to receive? Okay, fine. You'll kick from that end. Edmonton will kick off. Montreal receives. Good luck, fellas.
Lorne Woods is signifying that Montreal has won the toss. Edmonton will kick off. Montreal has elected to receive. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to Miss Grey Cup, Marlene Flaman. Marlene, congratulations. It's been an exciting week.
Oh, it's been fantastic, Bill. Just great.
Marlene, you go to the University of Saskatchewan in Saskatoon. I know there are a lot there saying hello to you, so say hello to them.
I'd like to say hi to everybody in Saskatoon on campus and also to all my friends and relatives in Southie, Saskatchewan.
Southie, just a little bit north of Regina. Now, what did you win as Miss Grey Cup?
I won a trip to Hawaii for 2. I won a beautiful TR7. I won this fur coat that I'm wearing. I won a beautiful Singer sewing machine and a microwave oven.
Oh, you just had a
Skidoo,
wonderful time.
a great Skidoo. Oh, just great. It's fantastic.
What have you been doing this week?
You name it, we've done it. We've been all over Montreal. We've been eating in the finest restaurants. We've met a lot of dignitaries, a lot of people in the sports world from, like, with the football clubs.
And a hockey game last night.
Yeah, great. The NHL game was terrific. We met the mayor of Montreal.
Are you a great football fan?
Yes, I am. I love it. And it's great to be here.
You follow the Saskatoon Hilltops, of course.
A little bit, yeah.
And who do you pick for this Grey Cup game?
I'm going with Edmonton. I've got to go with the West.
With the West?
Yes.
Edmonton's to win. By how many points?
About 7 or 8.
Marlene Flaman, Miss Grey Cup, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And now let us go to center field, the singing of our national anthem with Roger Doucette.
Everybody, I'm Pat Marsden along with Mike Wadsworth and Frank Rigney. We are just moments away from the kickoff of the 1979 Grey Cup Classic. Dave Cutler kicks it away, and Baker tried to take it on a short hop at the 7, now does have it. Well, Keith Baker showed you a little second effort as he got back to the 20-yard line, but Emilio Frietta was down quickly to make the downfield tackle for the Edmonton Eskimos. As we take a look at the way the Montreal Alouettes are going to line up, and there is no doubt that Joe Barnes has to have the game of his career if the Alouettes are to provide the type of opposition we look forward to this afternoon. And don't forget that Dan Yoakum is not in there. In his place is Larry Fowl, who starts at that left tackle position. It is first down Alouettes. They start from their 20-yard line. Gets to about the 27 before Pete Laverato hammers them there. But obviously, the Montreal game plan, they've got to try to get
Excellent
outside.
move by Barnes, getting outside of Tom Towns on that side. Mike, that's a little bit surprising to start a ball game out that way.
Well, you know, I was talking with Coach Jack Goda just before coming up, Frank, and he said, look where they play Fennell. If they play Fennell on the outside as opposed to the nose guard position, that means their blitz will be coming wide, and that's what they did with Towns, but he came in a little too shallow.
A good 7-yard pickup for the Alouettes to start this ball game. It is 2nd and 3, the kind of situation they want, because now they can run John O'Leary or maybe David Green inside. They go to Green and they try to get him outside. He's got the first down and out to the 32-yard line. A very important first series for the Alouettes. They were able to move the ball. Dale Potter and Ed Jones moved up to make the tackle to contain Green, but it is a first down for the Owls. The leading rusher in the CFL, the Shenley Award winner, is the top player, David Green, and what a campaign he had. Now Barnes rolled out of there on first down previously. Let's see if he does it again. First down, Montreal, from the Alouette 32-yard line. John O'Leary. O'Leary found a little bit of an opening as he sliced off tackle for about 5 yards out to the 37.
Mike, in the last two plays in succession, David Boone, number 64, who had an outstanding year for the Edmonton Eskimos, has got an awful lot of penetration against that Alouette offensive line.
The gain was 5 yards, make it 2nd and 5. Alouettes from their 37. They started this drive at their 20-yard line after taking that kickoff. Joe Barnes, Texas Tech is his alma mater. As the Eskimos appear to be offside, David Green puts his head down, and this is what he's done all season long. Broke the initial tackle, finally brought down by Labarato. Ron Este made penetration, but Green was able to break through and pick up the necessary yardage, and there was an offside penalty.
Last season, David Green did not have a big game against the Edmonton Eskimos in the Grey Cup final, but this season he's had a whole new career made for him, and he thinks he's going to be able to carry that into this afternoon's contest.
Well, not only was Ron Este offside on the play at that nose guard position over the offensive center, Doug Smith, but he also missed the tackle.
The consensus was Montreal had to be able to control the football, not only to score points, but to keep it away from the Edmonton offense themselves. They have done that effectively in the early moments of this ball game. A little play-action fake. Barnes in trouble, unloads it to O'Leary. What a job he did. To get to the 50-yard line, he's pinned there by Tom Towns, and the gain is only about 3, but the effective part was Barnes was able to unload.
Take a look at Dan Kempley. He does a great job here. He doesn't get O'Leary because Doug Smith gets back to pick him off. But he's the one that slows up O'Leary, and as a result, the rest of the defense is able to gather and stop him for very little gain.
Spot the ball right at the Montreal 50-yard line, make it 2nd, and about 7.5 yards to go for the first down. Barnes with time, now feels some pressure. No, sir, down he goes. The big play by Ed Jones. After Barnes initially had some time, the coverage downfield was excellent.
Well, he got the initial pressure from Tom Towns, a linebacker on the right side of the Eskimo defense. You'll see him on the right side of your screen, getting away from O'Leary. However, Barnes makes an excellent move to avoid that rush by Towns, moves to the outside, just can't find a receiver. Finally, Ed Jones, the defensive back, comes up and makes a stop. That'll create a 3rd and 13. The first time the Alouettes are going to have to give up the football.
And a young man that will be heard from many years to come is back to return this punt for the Eskimos. Number 37, Emilio Frietta, and number 28, Greg Butler, is back there with him. Wally Buono punting on 3rd and about 13. Good punt. This is Butler. And excellent coverage. The Eskimos are going to start from inside their 30-yard line. We are still scoreless. There's a timeout on the field, and Grey Cup 79 resumes in just a moment. The Edmonton Eskimos take over the ball offensively for the first time. Tom Wilkinson, with a career completion record of better than 61%, is the starting quarterback for the Eskimos. The ball at their 28, first time they've had the football in this ball game. Slipped a little bit, but finds Tom Scott inside for a big reception into the Montreal 53-yard line.
Well, Mike, before this ball game started, you said that he may well be a very integral part of that passing offense. Tom Scott, of course, coming from that slot back position. Here he is.
A closer look at Tommy Scott, Frank. We expect the Alouettes will be sitting in zone coverage through most of the afternoon. Consequently, we think that Tom Wilkinson will try to hit those seams, and he's got all the receivers in the world to use.
The gain was 29 yards. First down, Eskimos from the Montreal 54. This is Jim Germany. Germany is all the way down to the 36-yard line, pinned by Dickie Harris. But the big gain for the fellow who gained more than 1,300 yards, Jim Germany, it was 17 yards.
You know, gentlemen, this has been kind of a forgotten man this week, Jim Germany, because he has had an excellent year. As you mentioned, Pat, he wasn't that far behind Shenley Award winner David Green, only 350 yards on the year. And the Edmonton Eskimos have gotten no credit at all for running the football. They're not that bad. They were third in the CFL.
From the Als 36, Wilkinson throws. Complete, wide open to Kelly. In at about the 26-yard line. Another first down, or at least close to it, for the Eskimos.
And what a brilliant move by the Rookie of the Year. He knew exactly where that 1st and 10 marker was. He had 9 yards picked up. He jumped up there and got out of bounds just over the first down marker. It's a first down for the S again at the 25-yard line.
Well, Riggs, you mentioned the Rookie of the Year. What a season he had. 61 catches, 11 touchdowns. He gives the Eskimos a first down at the Montreal 25. Jim Germany met in the hole initially by Willie Hampton, slid off him, and still managed to gain about 3.
You're seeing the well-balanced Eskimos at their best, though, Frank, running with effectiveness, passing, going deep to Scott, short little sideline pattern. They'll throw it all at you.
That's one thing, Mike, I think they have a big advantage over the Montreal Alouettes. The Alouettes, of course, the #1 rushing team in the country throughout the year, but they were 9th in throwing the football. The Eskimos, on the other hand, the #1 passing team, 3rd with the rush.
2nd and 8, Edmonton from the Montreal 23-yard line. Over the middle, it is complete down to about the 15-yard line to Angelo Santucci. He would be close to a first down. The positioning of the ball is all important, and they say that he is short by about a yard.
Watch the timing with Tom Wilkinson. Santucci, as soon as he curls in front of Buono, the ball's released. Buono has no chance to come in front. They pick up the game, but as you point out, it appears they're a little short, Pat.
Warren Moon comes in to the quarterbacking position for the Eskimos on 3rd and a short yard. Wilkinson 3 for 3 in this drive that started back at the Edmonton 28.
Pat, in these circumstances, he sneaked about 99% of the time. There he goes again.
Boy, I'll tell you, that's close. The Owls think they've stopped him, and I tell you, they may have.
Well, we'll have officials on both sides of the ball. Unfortunately, they'll be wearing the green and the white. But take a look at it again. Bit of a follow-up, I think, on Warren Moon's part in terms of the timing there. He really seemed a bit delayed before he tried to get over that 15-yard line. Here's the measurement. They are going to be short, I believe.
Well, the crowd tells you the situation. All right, let's go to field level right now, and Bill Stevenson.
One of the most disappointed men in Montreal this week is Dan Yoakum, offensive all-star lineman for the Montreal Alouettes. Dan, it's got to be tough to be in the sidelines.
Yeah, it's very tough. It's been one of the worst weeks of my life, and I did everything possible to get it ready, and I ran out of time. It's as simple as that. I tried freezing it. I've tried therapy, everything possible, but it wouldn't come around.
It's got to be a very big boost for the Alouettes stopping Edmonton here.
Sure, their guys aren't going to quit. They're going to do it, and I have all the confidence in the world in them.
All right, back to Pat.
Thank you, Bill. You saw David Green slip down, and had he not, he probably would have picked up a lot more yardage than he did. He's contained to about a 2-yard gain.
A good look at the great middle linebacker of the Eskimos, Dan Kebley. But you know, Frank, as you look at the Eskimos defensively, they had virtually all 12 men right up by the line of scrimmage. Montreal, a club that will run 80% of the time on first down. Eskimos are going with that statistic, and they're coming up very tight.
They'll play a gambling type of defense against you, going with those type of percentages.
It is 2nd and 8 from the 17. Barnes threw. Baker did not go to the sideline. He broke it back in, and so the pass goes incomplete. We've played just about 8 minutes in this opening quarter. There is no score. Grey Cup 79 from Montreal returns in a moment. Wally Buono is set to punt for the Alouettes on 3rd and 8. He stands inside his 5-yard line. Frietta 37, Butler 28, a wait back at the Edmonton 45. Just a beautiful Grey Cup afternoon here in Montreal. Temperature about 8 degrees Celsius. This is a good punt by Buono. Butler from his 48. And a good return by Butler to the 50-yard line. It was a 45-yard punt by Buono, a 12-yard return. Tom Cousineau and Jerry Friesen were downfield to cover for the Alouettes, and the Eskimos will take over in excellent field position at the Montreal 50. Let's go to Don Whitman.
They're doing work on the protective chin guard on the face mask of Dan Kepley. Kepley, in the game against the Saskatchewan Roughriders over a month ago, suffered a hairline fracture of the jaw, and that protective face guard had come loose and they had to repair it. Okay, Pat.
Thank you, Don. It is first down. Edmonton. The give is to Jim Germany. He's just exploding.
Well, I'll tell you, Pat, what's happening out there. Mike Wilson, another Shenley Award winner from the Edmonton Eskimos, is doing an excellent job. Got a great block on Glenn Weir. We're having some technical problems with the telestrator machine right now, but once we get it back and operational, Mike Wilson and Eric Upton are having a super football game so far. And Mike, I think that's a real key, because Glenn Weir and Junior IU absolutely dominated the Ottawa Roughriders in the Eastern Final.
It was the Alouette strength really last week, Frank.
The gain was 7. It is 2nd and 3. Eskimos. Germany has carried 3 times for 25 yards already. The flag comes down. Wilkinson wide open is Smith, and he will score the touchdown. Waddell Smith was so wide open it was ridiculous. There are flags down on the field, but I suspect Montreal was offside.
The excitement of the Edmonton Eskimos, Frank. You can expect that Waddell Smith might be the game breaker for them. He has been all season. The flags were down. They seem to be against the Alouettes, and this will count. Absolutely, just a total breakdown in coverage.
I think what happened there, Mike, it was Jim Burrow, number 16, as you see Waddell Smith waving to the Alouettes. Jim Burrow looked like he was covering Waddell Smith. He just released him when he thought Tom Wilkinson was going to take off with the football.
Dave Cutler's point after is good. What a start for Tom Wilkinson. He is 4 for 4, 91 yards, and the touchdown strike to Waddell Smith.
Another look at it. You mentioned that the coverage released and they saw Wilkie come up, but he didn't step over that line. Canny as ever. He drew in the defense, shot to the receiver, and it was all gone then.
Well, I'll tell you, the number one matchup I want to look at, and I'm sure you agree, Mike, all afternoon was Mike Wilson against Junior IU, and so far Mike Wilson of the Eskimos is winning that battle. No pressure at all on Wilkie. He had all day to find Waddell for the first major of this ball game.
Well, we've got 5 minutes, 19 seconds left to play in this opening quarter. It is imperative now that Montreal be able to sustain some kind of a drive, because the consensus has been that if Montreal ever jumps on them early and grabs a 2-touchdown lead, forget it.
I mean, if Edmonton jumps
on them. All right, this is Baker from his 5. Good move to get out to about the 29-yard line. It's finally pinned down by Pete Laparato, but the Alouettes are going to start from inside their 30, a 24-yard kickoff return by Keith Baker.
Everything the Alouettes have attempted to do so far, Frank, has been to the outside. Barnes eluded the rush by continuing to roll out. He's also tried to get Green either off tackle or wide. They haven't really tried to hit up the middle and go right at Kepley and Pinnell.
Well, when you look at that Eskimo defense, at number 1 in the country, if you had to pick out a weakness of any kind, I think we've talked about that before, it would be possibly their outside linebackers. They certainly aren't weak, but a relative weakness.
We'll have a change of football as the Alouettes prepare to start from their 29-yard line.
The Eskimos, the number 1 defense against the run in the CFL this year.
This is David Green. Green is out very close to first down territory. Pete Laparato forced him out of bounds. The placement of the ball, again, will be all important. He may have that first down.
Great block by Larry Smith on Tom Towns on that side. That's how the Edmonton Eskimos defense lined up in the initial play of the ball game, and that's the area the Alouettes attacked on the initial play with Barnes on the first play of this ball game. Now it's Green.
Green has carried the ball 4 times this afternoon for 26 yards and is obviously going to be the key man in that Montreal attack. Just inches short, it appears, of the first down, which is not a bad situation for the Alouettes to find themselves in, because really they now get an extra down. It is 7-0. Edmonton out in front on the electrifying touchdown pass, Tom Wilkinson to Waddell Smith. 4 minutes, 45 seconds left to play in this opening quarter. 2nd and inches, Montreal. Flag comes down as Joe Barnes keeps it himself. He has the first down, but we'll await the penalty call.
No obvious offside. Maybe somebody had lined up offside, Frank.
I didn't pick it up, Mike. I was taking a look at Larry Fowl, the new fellow replacing Dan Yoakum, new to the lineup since the first game of the season for the Alouettes, and he's doing a pretty good job against Dr. Death, Dave Fennell.
Edmonton number 64.
Well, it was David Boone in lineup offside on the far side of the Edmonton defensive unit.
You know, because 66 Larry Fowl is obviously going to have to play a big game today, I think we should tell you something about him. He's from the University of Miami. As Frank mentioned, he did play in the opening game of this season. They say he may be the strongest man in the league. He's going to have to be to contend with Dr. Death. Little play action. Barnes in trouble. And down he goes. Back at the 38-yard line.
They just won't let you take that much time.
You know, Mike, you made this comment earlier in this first quarter, but those corners of the Edmonton Eskimos, particularly Larry Highbaugh, but Joe Holloman as well on the other side, are almost in a linebacking position. They do have a 7-man front up there with 2 linebackers right behind them. Almost everybody's within 2 yards of the line of scrimmage. I think the Alouettes are really being challenged that they can't throw the football against them.
Absolutely.
The loss was 6. It is 2nd and 16, Montreal from their 38. Pass is complete to John O'Leary. He's got the first down.
It's exactly what you have to do. Get it back against the linebacker.
What a ball player he's been for the Alouettes throughout his tenure here, and particularly this year. One of the big reasons for David Green's success with his blocking ability. 2nd leading receiver, and also carries a very respectable 5.2 rushing yard average into this game.
I'll tell you the other thing they did, Mike, is they're changing up their formations quite a bit. Peter Delariva normally lining up at a tight end position when he's in the backfield there and went in motion, so they're trying to isolate different receivers on different defenders.
The gain was 35 yards as Green comes back and does not get to the line of scrimmage. Towns and Carl Quinnell were there to haul him down. It's a 7-0 ball game with just about 3 minutes left. This is Grey Cup 79 from Montreal. The Montreal Alouettes have a 2nd and 10 from the Edmonton 36-yard line. They trail 7-0. Flag comes down. Montreal will be called for illegal procedure.
Did you see who's chasing down the quarterback?
Larry Highbaugh. Unbelievable.
From the other side of the field, there were no receivers on that wide side, or pardon me, the back side to the left, so Highbaugh just came in his pursuit.
Well, I've been watching Larry Highbaugh ever since he's been in this league, originally with the BC Lions, and that's the first quarterback sack he ever came close to.
They're down there.
Well, watch him at the bottom of your screen.
He was lined up in that linebacking position as you described it earlier, Frank, and that's why he was coming in right now. The Eskimos don't blitz that much, but obviously that was a predetermined call for Highbaugh.
And obviously the Alouettes certainly want to attack to the outside of that Eskimo defensive unit.
Keith Baker jumped the gun. Edmonton declines the penalty. Don Sweet comes into the ball game, and he'll try a field goal from about 38 yards out.
A little look at some of the rough action that goes on in the course of every play.
Great job by O'Leary keeping his feet, working against number 64, David Boone.
Jerry DiTilio will spot the ball at the 38-yard line. That's where the field goal try will come from. And it is good. Hey, we've got ourselves a football game at 7-3, and it was imperative that the Alouettes come back. They did just that.
Frank, I think it was imperative that they put something not only on the board, but got some real drive established, and it seemed to me that Joe Barnes was able to establish some offense there.
Well, you know, so far in this football game, which is closing in on the end of the 13 minutes now of the first quarter, the Alouettes certainly have been a much more impressive football team offensively, gentlemen, and I think you would agree, than they were last week against the Ottawa Rough Riders. They really, I think, scouted the Eskimo defense extremely well, as we see, attacking it to the outside.
They started from their 29-yard line in 6 plays. They end up with the field goal by Don Sweet, and now the Eskimos take over from their 35, with Tom Wilkinson at quarterback all the way to this point. And he's going deep for Kelly, but it's beyond his reach and out of bounds.
Frank, so long as the Alouettes are going to be sitting in their zone and not getting any more pressure than that on Tom Wilkinson, it's going to be a long, tough afternoon for them.
It certainly is, and that time was rather unusual. I was watching Junior IU and Mike Wilson once again. Wilson did not block him, and they had Jim Germany firing up, trying to change up the blocking on those pass plays against Junior IU. He has not been a factor in this ball game so far.
First incompletion of the ball game for Wilkinson, who was 4 for 5, including that touchdown pass to Waddell Smith. The drive at Germany, and Red well.
Afternoon for them.
It certainly is, and that time was rather unusual. I was watching Junior IU and Mike Wilson once again. Wilson did not block him, and they had Jim Germany firing up, trying to change up the blocking on those pass plays against Junior IU. He has not been a factor in this ball game so far.
First incompletion of the ball game for Wilkinson, who was 4 for 5, including that touchdown pass to Waddell Smith. The drive at Germany, and read well by the Alouettes. A gang tackling defense led by Wally Buono.
Just not the Eskimos' style, but all of a sudden they feel a compliment to their passing game, handing off on the draw. Maybe their coaching staff saw something from up in the spotter's box, but it certainly didn't work. And what an addition Willie Hampton, number 62, who helped out on that tackle, has been since Tom Cousineau has moved into the middle linebacking spot. Hampton does an excellent job from the left linebacking position.
On 3rd and 10, Hank Olisic, who has averaged better than 47 yards every punt this season, is back to do the booting for the Eskimos. Dickie Harris, the most dangerous punt returner in Canada, has it. And that's the only way to contain him. Make sure you get him on the sideline and have lots of folks there to surround him. He's forced out at the 40-yard line, a 38-yard punt, but only a 2-yard return. So the Alouettes will start in pretty good field position at their 40.
Would you say everybody enjoyed themselves this week in Montreal, Frank?
The festivities have been absolutely fabulous once again, Mike, as they always are. And that was a good example of what that Montreal defense can do for this ball club. That was the first time either team has been stopped without a first down.
We're winding down the opening quarter. It is 7-3. Edmonton out in front. Montreal with a first down at their 40. Throws it is complete to Bob Gaddis. He has the first down to the Edmonton 50-yard line. Larry Heibaugh made the tackle at that point.
An extremely well-thrown football by Joe Barnes. Pick up this 20-yard gain with Gaddis. He did not throw that ball that well against the Ottawa Rough Riders last week in the final, but this one's right on the mark.
Helps to get that kind of blocking too, Frank.
Certainly does. Gaddis just a little curl-in pattern against Larry Heibaugh. Lining up Gaddis against Heibaugh once again.
He had 47 receptions on the season. David Green just driving his way to the 45 for a gain of 5. You know, we talked about Tom Wilkinson really being on the mark. He was 4 for 5. Barnes is 3 for 4. We've got a tremendous football game going for us as the first quarter comes to the end. It is Edmonton 7, Montreal 3. Grey Cup 79 continues after this. Pat Marsden along with Mike Wadsworth and Frank Rigney. What a time we've had in Montreal this week, and what a football game we've got going for us right now. As we begin play here in quarter number 2, the Owls trail 7-3. This is David Green. He's got another first down into the Edmonton 30-yard line. The Owls now really establishing that running game as Ed Jones finally makes the tackle, but another big first down for the Alouettes.
When you see the guards get around the corner that cleanly, you know they're doing a great job of sealing at the point of attack, Frank.
Well, they knocked Dale Potter, number 30, about 5 yards back here on this play, and they've really worked Towns and Potter over at that outside linebacking spots. They're getting into that backfield absolutely free, Mike.
7 carries for David Green, a total of 47 yards so far. Barnes throws, the catch is made, but a flag comes down as John O'Leary made the reception at about the 27-yard line, hit immediately by Pete Laverato.
I think we might have a holding call against newcomer Larry Full. To me, like he was holding against Dave Fennell. A little discussion going on with defensive captain Dave, or I should say Dan Kepley, number 42, and I believe that will be the call.
Okay. Holding. Montreal number 66.
Well, you were right, Riggs. It is. Newcomer Larry Full assessed the holding penalty.
John O'Leary just slipped out to that left side, but you just saw the holding in the bottom of your screen as he does so. He's had his work cut out for him. I'm speaking now of Larry Full this afternoon, and we made the comment a number of times.
Well, there you see what happened in that opening quarter. 6 first downs for the Alouettes, 3 for the Eskimos. It is 1st and 20, Montreal from the Edmonton 40-yard line. All right, here's the flea flicker as Baker puts it up for Joe Barnes, and he just missed it at about the 15-yard line.
Boy, I'll tell you, they had it going every way, didn't they?
I'll tell you, Alouette supporters are a little upset with Dale Potter, number 30.
Joe Scannell's a little upset too,
right.
Frank.
They thought he interfered with quarterback Joe Barnes. And is this reminiscent, gentlemen, of the 1958 Grey Cup, my first year in the CFL, with Leo Lewis hitting Jimmy Van Pelt, if anybody goes back
I think
that far.
I was too young to watch that.
Almost an excellent play by the Alouettes. Take a look at it again.
They had Gaddis clearing deep to the other side. It looked as if Baker was going to try to hit him, and then all of a sudden coming back to Joe Barnes. But a good job defensively, reading your keys and staying with them.
2nd and 20, Montreal from the Edmonton 40. Barnes throws. The reception is made by Bob Gaddis. He's short of the first down by about a yard. What a job by Joe Barnes to evade the rush.
Well, I'll tell you, the initial pressure came from Tom Towns, and then it was Ron Este.
I'll tell you, the key is, though, a great job by Joe Barnes. Last week, Joe was not up to his game. He was very flat. But today, he's standing in the face of a big rush. And he does so here as we take a look at Gaddis in isolation. Coming back to the football, Highball not in time.
Highball just gave him absolutely too much room. Highball has that great speed, but he also knows that Bob Gaddis has it as well.
It is 3rd and a yard to go as the Owls go with that full house backfield. Barnes keeps it himself and ducks under the initial rush to get the first down and at about the 17.
That was his ex-teammate Carl Cronell that he slipped under the attempted tackle.
Well, don't go away. What an opening to this ball game. It is 7-3. Edmonton. Grey Cup 79 returns in a moment. It's a partisan Montreal crowd, but you know that these girls are cheering for the Eskimos. They're the Edmonton cheerleaders as the Owls start first down from the Edmonton 18. Brunell is after Joe Barnes, and he got some help from Tom Towns to force the Montreal quarterback out of bounds at about the 20. He'll lose a couple.
Excellent blitz by one of the two middle linebackers, Carl Cornell. You'll see him coming in here so quickly that Joe Barnes cannot draw up and throw the football. Watcher in the left guard had pulled out to the left side, but Cornell has that extreme pressure on Barnes, and he has to go out of bounds. About a 4-yard loss.
What a job by Fold. Did you see him bury Fennell on that particular play? It was to little avail, however, because of the great blitz that you talked about. Edmonton now has 3 sacks to their credit. Total of 15 yards. The loss was actually 4 on that play. A flag is down as Larry Smith took quite a hit from Towns and Kepley at about the 10, but let's see what the penalty marker's about.
There's 2 flags down here. I think the initial one was an offside call against the Eskimos.
David Boone seemed to jump a little early, Frank.
I think exactly right, Mike. There, however, was a penalty a little later, quite possibly a holding call against Montreal.
Offside, Edmonton number 64. Holding, Montreal number 66.
Well, youngster Larry Full once again caught holding against Dave Fennell. Here's your offside by David Boone, number 64, but on the far side of the field, Larry Full, 66, was caught once again holding Big Dave Fennell, the outstanding Canadian player for 1979 in the CFL.
The difference in the penalties is 5 yards, so they move the ball back to the 27-yard line. It is second and about 18 yards to go for the Alouettes. They trail 7-3 here early in the second quarter. Dale Potter did a magnificent job. Strung it right to the sideline and then made the tackle on the quarterback.
They came with everybody defensively, Frank, and that's one of the great things about the Eskimos. They've got such speed in their secondary. They're not afraid to go man for man and take you on. And they did just that. They had at least 6 or 7 people coming after Barnes. He never really got a chance to get set.
Well, I tell you, we've been somewhat critical, particularly myself, against Towns and Potter, the outside linebackers of the Eskimos. But, Pat, you're absolutely right. An excellent play by Potter, bending off the block of John O'Leary.
4 sacks for the Eskimos, a total of 26 yards, and they now force Don Sweet into a field goal try from 45 yards out. It is good. Don Sweet, who holds the single game field goal mark in a Grey Cup game, has just kicked his second field goal of this ball game to narrow the Edmonton lead to 7-6. Sweet had 6 field goals in the 1977 game against these same Eskimos.
I'll tell you, I think he held his breath because that ball seemed to hang in the air for a while. Just came down inside and had enough distance.
Well, the Montreal drive that time was 9 plays, 3 first downs, and they end up with another field goal. Wilkinson throws. Konahowski couldn't squeeze it. Let's go to Bill Stevenson.
Joe Barnes, quarterback of the Alouettes. Joe, what's happening out there?
Well, it's a tough physical game right now, and we're moving the football. We just broken down some key plays, had a few too many penalties. But they're taking away our sprints. They're covering receivers pretty well, so I'm having to run.
Thank you, Joe Barnes. All right, Pat.
The Eskimos have not had a first down since their first series of plays. It is 2nd and 10, Edmonton from the Eskimo 35-yard line. Montreal appeared to have been offside. Wilkinson throws, very nearly picked off. Again, the ball went through the hands of John Konahowski.
Tommy Scott, as an inside receiver, simply moved out a little bit, and that seemed to draw Tony Petruccio into an offside position, but we'll get the call now.
Okay. Offside, Montreal number 68.
Well, you're right, Mike. That's what it is. Tony Petruccio, the defensive end on that side, number 68 was offside. So it's a 5-yard gain for the Eskimos out to the 40, 2nd and 5 from that point. We've got 10 minutes, 10 seconds left to play in the first half. Edmonton leading 7-6. Wilkinson throws complete to Stu Lang. He'll have the first down. Hit by Wally Buono at the 50-yard line. Let's go to Don Whitman.
Kyle Cornell, how's it feeling going against your old mates?
Well, it's football. We're a little slow on defense. I think we're giving them a little too much yardage on the sprint draw. I missed one down there on, I think, second and short. I should have had him. I went for his head. He ducked me. So they got the 3 out of it. We should have stopped him short and gave the offense the ball, So I'd have to tighten up a little bit, and so will the rest of the defense.
Hey, Pat. Wilkinson throws complete to the 50-yard line. The catch made by Waddell Smith. Wilkinson is now 6 out of 8 completions.
Willie Hampton, the linebacker on that side, came on a blitz, number 62 there. It was a good job by Jim Germany to turn back and pick him up, allowing Wilkinson time to throw the football, and also allowed no coverage underneath by the linebacker on that side as Hampton was coming in on the quarterback. First down, Edmonton.
The ball just inside the Montreal 50. They've gained 110 yards passing so far this afternoon. Jim Germany. And Germany got to the outside, crossed the 45 into about the 43. He'll have a gain of close to 8 as Tony Proudfoot forced him to the sideline at that point.
I tell you, the Eskimos, we can expect them to work to the right side a lot in their passing game because they feel that Larry Utek may not be quite as speedy as the other people there. Utek most often playing the inverted position, coming up, being responsible for flat and contain. He tried to come up and stuff Mike Wilson. That's a bit of a mismatch.
That certainly is.
Germany has carried the ball 5 times this afternoon for 32 yards. It is 2nd and 3 Eskimos. This is Angelo Santucci. That's his first carry of the ball game, and he may well have the first down. He got inside the 40. He had to reach to at least the 39, and he appears to have done so.
It's been a very exciting, entertaining football game so far. All the Eskimos only lead by 1 point, 7-6. It's been a lot more offense in the first 20 minutes of this football game than I thought there might possibly be because of the caliber of both defenses.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, Frank, and the surprising thing is that we've only had the one major score because they have moved the ball well.
And that on a semi-broken play, really, when Jim Burrow let Waddell Smith wide open on the far sideline.
It is a first down. The ball at the Montreal 39, being controlled right now by the Eskimos, who lead it 7-6. The draw to Germany. Another first down. Inside the 25 to about the 22-yard line. Jim Marshall makes the tackle at that point. Eskimos lead at 7-6. They are on the move. This is Grey Cup 79 from Montreal. Well, we've got a lot of people here today, including the Prime Minister of Canada and Mrs. Clark. And you've got to know they're enjoying it right now. The Eskimos are on the move with a first down at the Montreal 23-yard line. Flag there. Stu Lang thought maybe there should have been. And I'm not sure that he isn't right.
Well, I think he's right, too. Tony Proudfoot looked like he had him all wrapped up. Lang just on a quick pattern to the inside. Take a look at it yourself. If the ball gets there quick enough with our camera, it certainly looked like Proudfoot had Lang lassoed from behind. No call, however. 2nd and 10 for the Eskimos. They're at the 23-yard line of Montreal.
We've got 7 minutes, 12 seconds left to play in this first half. Wilkinson delivers. Kelly has the ball ripped out of his hands by Tom Cousineau.
Oh, they're going to let it stand.
Tom Cousineau to midfield.
No, they're not, Pat. I think they're going to bring it right back. There's an official marking the spot where Kelly made the catch. Right at the 13.5-yard line. The offensive unit of the Alouettes is going on the field, so it is going to be a reception and a turnover. However, the return by Cousineau will be wiped out by the officials. It'll be Montreal's ball on their own 13-yard line. Watch it once again as Wilkie finally looks back to his left and finds a receiver open. Brian Kelly, number 70, you see Cousineau wrestle the ball away from him, but the official ruling is that he is down at that spot. It's Montreal's ball, 1st and 10 at their own 13.5-yard line.
It's the second time the Alouette defense has stopped the Edmonton offense inside the 30. as David Green reaches for about the 15-yard line. So credit Green with a gain of maybe a couple of yards. Tom Cousineau, who was the man who dislodged Carl Cornell from that middle linebacking spot. Most people know the story, of course. He was the #1 draft selection in the National Football League this year, but elected to come to the Alouettes instead. This is Green. Can he run? Big first down, David Green.
Frank, I don't think there's any question that these Alouettes are hyped up. All week long, people were talking about the Eskimos being heavily favored, and for good reason. Because on the course of the season, the Eskimos were a better team. But this afternoon, the Alouettes are at least playing them even, and I would say right now have an upper hand on them.
Well, David Green showed you right there why he was selected as the outstanding player in Canada in 1979. Just a great run by Green.
9 carries, 72 yards. David Green, first down, Montreal at their 38-yard line. Flag comes down. There was movement in the Montreal offensive set as Green got up to about the 44.
It'll be offside by Larry Smith, I think, Pat.
Well, you can tell that the guys are hyper. Let's listen to referee Lauren Wirtz. Procedure call against the Alouettes. That's the 7th penalty, either offside or procedure, so you know the guys are a little gung-ho. Eskimos accept the 5-yard penalty and put the ball back at the Montreal 33. It is 1st and 15.
5:28 remain in the first half with the Eskimos ahead 7-6.
Field tackle by Tom Towns on the quarterback, Joe Barnes, back of the 30 at about the 28. The 5th sack by that Edmonton defensive unit in this first half.
Tell you what a great play defensively the Eskimos came up with there. He's trying to screen to the right to John O'Leary. You could see him slipping out to the right side of your screen. However, he was covered by 2 different Eskimos on that side, and finally Towns forces him out of bounds. Dale Potter, the linebacker on the other side, was one of the fellows covering O'Leary on that attempted screen.
The ball just inside the Montreal 30. They've got to get to the 48. It is 2nd down, really. There is some confusion on the yard markers as you look at Huey Campbell. You know, you never know if Huey's uptight or not, because his disposition is the same all the time.
That's very true.
I'll tell you, he'd like to see the Alouettes give up that football in that field position. He's got to feel a little concerned about the way in which they've moved the football.
Referee Lauren Woods is coming right to the timers table right now.
We have a 3rd down out there.
Seems to be a confusion as to what the down is.
They're confused whether it should be 3rd or 2nd down. It should be 2nd down, and I think the confusion arose over the penalty. Do you remember when they marched the ball back the 5 yards? And of course, the penalty situation would be that you would lose the yardage, but you do not lose the down.
Mike, while we have a lull in the action at this point in time, I think the one thing that has surprised us so far is the effectiveness of that Montreal Alouette offensive unit. But I think you just established or just mentioned a moment ago, they really have come out here fired up to play, even though they're playing against the #1 defense in the entire CFL in 1979 in those Eskimos.
Well, I think you pointed out earlier, Frank, that the Eskimos are virtually challenging the Alouettes to pass because they're coming up on that 1st down situation with 8, 9, 10 people almost on the line of scrimmage. And with that,
the Alouettes are coming out, doing a little bit of the rolling out, trying to put some pressure on the linebackers, particularly on the outside, and it seems to me they're meeting the challenge, going to the air and having some success. As well, of course, as Green giving them good balance still.
Well, they started out in this ball game very effectively trying to get around the outside, the perimeter of that defensive unit of the Eskimos, and maybe that's really where that 3-4 defense is rather vulnerable, because you look up the middle of the defense and it looks like there's a lot of room in there, but there really isn't. That defense is really very similar to an old-time defense called the Oklahoma defense, when the defensive tackles were outside shoulders of the tackles and the two linebackers in the middle. Edmonton, I think, plays it very effectively, primarily because they have such excellent middle linebackers in Dan Kepley and Carl Cornell, of course. But now let's go down to field level and Bill Stevenson.
All right. What is being discussed right now is whether it is second or third down. The Montreal club is convinced it is third down. Bill Fry, the head official, is right here. Bill, exactly what happened on this?
Well, as far as they make out, they had a play. There's a penalty on the play. The play is repeated. And then on the next play, there was a loss of yardage. And there was a confusion in the down box at that point in time. The referee did the right thing by coming over. We checked with the head statistician upstairs, who's now confirmed it's second down.
Thank you very much, head official Bill Fry. That's the story, Pat.
Thank you. It is second down, 18 yards to go. Alouettes from just inside their 30-yard line. This is David Green. Green got caught up in traffic a little bit, then rode with Dan Kepley on his back to about the 35. They'll be well short, and now we will have third down, and the Montreal punting unit coming out onto the field.
A close look at Dan Kepley, and we'll see that David Green tries to get through Ron Este, Carl Cornell, and then has to deal with Kepley. That's an awful lot of traffic to have to try to bowl your way through.
It was Mangold, the offensive right guard that Kepley got rid of. It'd be 3rd and 13, so the Eskimos should have reasonable field position.
They lead it 7-6 with 3:50 left to play in this first half. Guano to punt for Montreal on 3rd and 12. Frietta and Butler are back deep for the Eskimos. This one is not too deep as Frietta moves to his 35. And then ran into Tom Cousineau, I believe it was, at about the 42. So the 40-yard punt has returned 7 yards, and the Eskimo offense will come to see if they can do some damage.
Let there be no doubt that Tom Cousineau has developed into an outstanding middle linebacker. Some people a little disappointed in his play early in the year when he was on the corner. But now he's lived up to everybody's expectations, and he really leads that defensive unit.
And still leading that offensive unit is Tom Wilkinson. Warren Moon is not even warming up on the sideline, even though the S have only scored 7 points in this ball game.
Only one game this year where they contained to 14 points. The give is inside for a gain of about 3 yards to Angelo Santucci as we come to the 3-minute mark. The score, Edmonton 7, Montreal 6. There's a timeout on the field, and Grey Cup 79 resumes in just a moment. 3 minutes, 7 seconds left to play in this opening half of the 1979 Grey Cup final. Edmonton out in front of the Montreal Alouettes, 7-6. The situation at this moment, second down, 7 yards to go. Eskimos, the ball at their 44-yard line. The draw to Germany. Well contained by the Alouettes. He'll be short of the first down. Gains about 4. Wrapped up by Tony Petruccio. Junior Ayu was in there as well. So we will see Hank Olisic and the punting unit of the Eskimos as the Alouettes will get the ball back before this half ends.
A close look at Tommy Scott, one of the very fine receivers by the Eskimos, but he does other things well too. A good block on Jim Burrow.
Mike, I'm really surprised with the Eskimos so many times in this first half on critical plays going to the run. That hasn't been their style.
I'll tell you why in that last one, Frank. Alouettes went into what they call a 4-2 defense with only 2 linebackers, 6 deep backs. Last year, Alouettes employed the same defense. Germany had a lot of success with the drop play going against it, and I think they're trying to duplicate that success, but so far the Owls have shut them down.
Dickie Harris with a brilliant return, but it may come back because of a clipping call. A 57-yard punt by Hank Olisic. A 17-yard return. Let's wait for referee Lauren Woods' call. Clipping against the Owls. And gentlemen, as we wind down this first half and wind down our coverage of CFL football this year, let me say on behalf of Frank Rigney, Mike Wadsworth, Bill Stevenson, and everybody associated with the CTV crew, we've had a ball doing CFL football, and we hope that you've enjoyed watching it. And we'll watch intently for the second half of this game with Russ Jackson, Don Chevrier, Terry Evanson, because it should be a dandy. The Alouettes start in a big hole back at their 9-yard line with a first down. David Green. Now, David Green only got to the 14-yard line, but he showed you his fast feet at the line of scrimmage when he was able to sidestep the great Dan Kepley.
Look at Warren Moon, who's warming up. Obviously, Coach Hugh Campbell doesn't feel that he's getting as much out of his offense as he'd like.
Kepley kind of overruns that play against David Green here. You see him at the bottom of your screen, number 42. Green makes a good cut back to the inside, but the reason I was smiling a bit there, Mike, when you were talking is I just said Warren Moon had not been warming up. Huey heard us up here, I guess. Put him in the bullpen.
The gain was 5. It is 2nd and 5. Barnes delivers to O'Leary. And he gets the first down because he was able to fend off Pete Lavarado for that extra couple of yards.
Well, again, they're using that inverted zone coverage. High ball when his speed is matching against Gaddis, who's the outside threat. And then just flaring O'Leary into the flat, flattening right up to the sideline area. Lavarado's having to cover from inside out.
Very important first down for the Alouettes with only 1:43 remaining in this first half. And watch the hit that Dan Kepley hits on quarterback Joe Barnes after he releases the football. Where he almost gets away from Pete Lavarado. 1st and 10 for the Alouettes.
The ball just outside their 20. Little play action fake to O'Leary. The ball is caught by David Green. And Green gets to the 40 for another first down.
I'll tell you, he runs like a man possessed, Frank. I've never seen anybody more determined than David Green has been this season, game in and game out.
Mike, this is not the same offensive unit for the Alouettes that we saw last week against the Ottawa Rough Riders. They've got a very varied and interesting attack today.
And always to the outside, as you pointed out.
Mind you, this is only the 2nd time they played the Eskimos this year. They played Ottawa 6 times, so they knew everything.
It could have something to do with it.
Barnes is 6 for 7 in passing for 103 yards. David Green jumping over people, driving his way for another first down.
Great block by Roland Mangold, number 58, the offensive right guard on Dan Kepley, right at the point of attack at the line of scrimmage. Maybe you can pick it up here. Mangold is number 58. You see him just to the left side of your screen. Watch how he handles Kepley.
He might have had a bit of a pull on that one, I would think, Frank.
Well, they handled him, and the ref didn't see that part.
What a hole.
12 carries, 93 yards. David Green.
1 half a play, not bad.
1 minute left in the first half.
Montreal with a first down. John O'Leary. O'Leary gets about a tough 3 yards before he's ridden down by Fennell as we go to Bill Stevenson.
Tony Proudfoot. Tony, I've never seen the Montreal Alouettes higher. Do you believe that?
I don't know if that's the right word. I think it's intensity. I'll tell you what, for all the nice things being said all week, this is a bloody grudge match, I'll tell you right now.
Thank you, Tony Proudfoot.
He didn't seem to think there was any question about it, that's for sure.
Barnes is dropped again, back inside the 40 by Dan Kepley. The 6th sack for that Edmonton defensive unit in this first half.
And Mike, absolutely nobody touches Dan Kepley. I believe he went between Ray Rockran and Doug Smith.
He just shot the gap. Doug Payton obviously was trying to get over to pick him up, but too late. You know, as long as they continue to play like this, you're never going to get tired of watching Edmonton and Montreal in the Grey Cup.
Don Whitman, you're standing down there. What's happening?
Well, there are only 34 seconds left, Pat. I don't know how much time will be left when Edmonton gets the ball back, but Warren Moon, the Mad Bomber, will be going in to play quarterback.
He threw 20 touchdown passes this year, so if he's got any time at all, look out. This is Butler from his 22-yard line. And he's contained at about the 26 with just 11 seconds showing on the clock. A 47-yard punt, only a 3-yard return as Chuck McMahon and the rest of the Alouettes were down to contain him.
The more the Alouettes fight Edmonton even throughout this first half of play, Frank, the better they're going to have a chance in the second half because they're generally stronger in the second half of play. They've changed their mind. Tom Wilkinson staying in the quarterback.
47-6 was the score when these teams met earlier this season. In speaking with Tom Wilkinson before the game, he said, I said at that time, if we played the next day, it'd be a lot closer. Well, it's a lot closer this afternoon because it's 7-6. Edmonton out in front as they are content to ground the ball with just 10 seconds left on the clock. That tells you something, I think, too.
Only smart play, though, Pat. There's not enough time to do anything, even get down in Dave Cutler's field goal range.
Let's go to Don Whitman.
Well, Pat, I apologize, but with just 11 seconds left in the clock, Wilkie had the warm-up jacket on. Moon was all set to go out, and Coach Hugh Campbell said, no, go out and run out the clock, Wilkie. So they feel the more reliable, the more veteran quarterback should be out there.
Your apology is accepted, sir, as Tom Wilkinson grounds the ball. And a very entertaining first half has come to an end. The Edmonton Eskimos are out in front of the Montreal Alouettes 7-6. We say so long, barring overtime. Again, I say thank you. I'm Pat Marsden for all the guys on our crew. And we'll go now to Tom McKee.
Well, thank you, Pat, and hello again, everybody. And maybe Tony Proudfoot hit it right on the head when he said this is a grudge match. A very exciting half of football in this Grey Cup of 1979. And we, of course, have a lot more football lined up. I think everybody's a little bit surprised by the amount of ball control that Montreal had. They maybe should have scored some more points. But at the end of the first half, with the score, the Edmonton Eskimos 7 and Montreal 6. The halftime show has just concluded here at Exhibition Stadium. We'll be ready for the second half of this game in just a moment. Right now, let us go down to Bill Stevenson.
And Tom, Randy Rhino, former star defensive half, out of action because of injuries. Randy, you were in the dressing room. What was the move?
Everybody was really excited, especially our offensive line. They feel like the way they're blowing them off the football now that there's no question that we're going to really move the football and up and down the field this second half.
Do you feel that this came about because everybody underrated them?
Well, I think the whole, especially the offense, really had something to prove today after all the grief we've taken this week. And, you know, I don't think Edmonton really thought that we could move the football on them, and they proved it. They're running right at their strength.
Thank you very much, Randy Rhino. And now let's go upstairs to Don Chevrier.
Thank you, Bill Stevenson. With me, Russ Jackson and Terry Evanchen. An exciting first half. It's going to be a great second half for sure. And Russ, what can we look for in the way of changes here?
Well, I think Edmonton has to go back to their own game plan, Don, and throw that ball a little bit more. I was surprised at how much they ran the ball, but they did give it away twice inside the 30-yard line.
Terry, what do you think?
Edmonton is running on second down, totally out of character what they've done all season long. I look for totally different offensive thinking in the second half.
The Eskimos set to receive from Don Sweet, with Edmonton leading Montreal 7-6 as the second half of the Grey Cup game is underway. Emilio Plata from the 9-yard line. Cracked down to the 25. A good hit by Jerry DiTilio. And it's first down, Edmonton, from the 25-yard line.
Don, I think one of the things we're going to have to look at is see who's going to play quarterback, and it's Warren Moon coming in, but on a replay, Jerry DiTilio, who leads this Alouette team on specialty teams especially, just got the great hit to start the second half off, and we will see Warren Moon.
There he is, number one, to quarterback the Eskimos in this half, Warren Moon. That'll be good for about 6 yards for the young quarterback. The middle linebacker, Tom Cousineau, reacting to limit his gain. It's going to be second down, about 4, Edmonton. And here's how they compare statistically in the first half. Total offense just 4 yards apart. Surprisingly, Montreal on the long end of it. This is second down and 4. Waddell Smith fell. The ball lands in front of them, and the Eskimos will have to punt it away.
Waddell Smith coming out of the backfield. They started off the game that way, lining him up as a tailback and letting him come out of the backfield. And he went downfield about 20 yards and hooked. And there was no one within 10 yards of him. Warren Moon throwing the ball short of him, even though he had slipped.
Joe Scannella in his second year, his second Grey Cup as head coach of the Montreal Alouettes, who lost to the Eskimos by 7 points at Exhibition Stadium in Toronto a year ago. Alyssa kicks to Baker and Harris. And this is Keith Baker at the 33-yard line. Straight up the middle goes Baker, a good run back. Tracked down high to the 49. Dan Kepley was there with the lesson. Let's watch the run back.
Well, Keith Baker does an excellent job here coming back inside. He set Pete Laverado up very well for the blocker, number 7 for the Eskimos, who had outside containment. And once he turned it back inside, he brought it back 16 yards.
The line of scrimmage is the 49-yard line of the Montreal Alouettes, who trail 7-6. David Green across the 50 for about 3. Green with so many 200-yard games in 1979. About to pass the 100 mark today. He's now 4 yards shy of that total. He has 96 yards so far in this Grey Cup game.
Huey Campbell has to be a little concerned about the turn of events in that first half. His club did get to Joe Barnes a few times on passing situations, but Barnes, when he threw the ball, was very successful.
Second down, 7. Barnes will have a first down, Montreal, as he steps through the charge to the Edmonton 50-yard line. Terry there again. Joe having trouble spotting his receivers, but he made the most of it.
We're getting excellent coverage downfield. Joe Barnes is getting good pressure from the inside. Tom Towns, Dale Potter's coming from the outside. Good pass protection by the backs, but he's flushing out of there too early, I believe. There's people that are open downfield. He's got to find them because it's Edmonton's defense is really holding him in the game right now.
First down from the Eskimo 50. David Green has just surpassed the 100-yard mark in the Grey Cup game, getting 5 halfway to a first down of the Eskimo 45 in the grasp of Dave Pinnell, Dr. Depp, and Pete Laverado.
On that play they're running to David Green almost reminds you of the Veer series that they run in colleges down the States, where he's just trying to find a seam off tackle inside the end, and he's had a lot of success with that play this afternoon. Let's go down to Don Whitman.
Tom Wilkinson, any particular reason you came out?
None other than Warren is a change, and we've been doing it all year, and it helped us get here, and so we're doing it again.
You might go back in.
Yeah.
A big gain for David Green as he steps out of bounds with another first down. At the 32-yard line, chased by Butler and Laverado, but the Eskimos have not found a way to contain the outstanding player in the country, David Green.
Well, they've been able to go wide. That's one thing they've been able to do here. And Ron Este, who lined up as the defensive end that time, committed himself to the inside. And he wasn't fast enough to cut David Green off. He made the penetration, but went inside just a little bit too much, and David Green just ran around him.
Another interesting pointer, making excellent blocks at the point of attack with Delarive and Larry Smith, and that's why they're getting to the outside.
All right, here's Joe Barnes, the first down call. Right back to David Green. Finds some tough going inside from Dan Kepley and Pete Laverado shooting up. That'll limit his gain to about 3 yards. Grey Cup 1979 from Montreal returns in just a moment. And that is the story on David Green so far this afternoon. It's now second down from the 29-yard line of the Eskimos for the Montreal Alouettes. Keith Baker broke the tackle and picks up a first down. Now a late flag is thrown.
Roland Mangold is a little upset with himself. But Joe Barnes got this pass away to Keith Baker, and the Eskimos again guilty of poor tackling. Should have had him short of that first down. And I believe it's Roland Mangold who comes in after Baker's down and makes the late hit on an Eskimo player.
Something that hasn't been done all year on the Edmonton defense is that's poor tackling. Let's listen to the referee.
Unnecessary roughness against Montreal. Go ahead, Terry.
But they have excellent downfield one-on-one tacklers, and it's the poorest display all year long for Edmonton right now. They've been shutting them down, but all of a sudden they miss the tackle. Montreal comes up with a big play.
Terry, there's the catch by Baker, slipping away from the tackle to get extra yardage. And then Mangold called for unnecessary roughness as that play was winding up. But they got first down out of it, which they had acquired before the infraction.
That's right, Don.
Complete at the 25-yard line to Larry Smith. His first catch today. It could be another Montreal first down.
Joe Barnes is throwing the ball with authority today. He was criticized last week for not throwing that ball very well, and he said all week that he felt he was going to throw the ball well today, and he is, because he had that one right on the line to Smith. His first catch, as you mentioned, Don, of the afternoon. Looking at it again, downfield is the defensive back. He's split right between the two defensive backs, one of them being number 28, Greg Butler.
First down, Montreal. Gain of about 3 yards on the play. The Alouettes now have 14 first downs, 7 in the air and 7 on the ground, as David Green will now leave them second down and about 8 from the area of the 22-yard line. While we have a moment, I know I speak for both network television crews in extending our deepest sympathy to the family of Fred Scambetti, a tremendous sports broadcaster in this country who passed away on Friday morning.
Don, someone very special to all of us, especially we young ones who knew Fred for many, many years.
We're sure going to miss him. Joe Barnes, second down and 8. Got David Green, but all over David Green. At the 22-yard line is Dale Potter, the left corner linebacker, number 30, to prevent the first down. It's virtually no gain. It's going to be third down, 7.5 yards to go. Let's have one more look at the play.
Well, the Edmonton Eskimos have been able to force Barnes out of the pocket. He's looking downfield, but a lot of the completions he's had to get out of that pocket and throw it downfield. That time, David Green just had about 3 or 4 yards. Certainly not enough for the first down, and we'll see Don Sweet attempting his third field goal of the afternoon.
He is 2 for 2, and right now can put the Alouettes into the lead for the first time today. He has kept them close with 2 previous field goals. This one, the Tilly Old hold from 30 yards away, angle right. He's good. Montreal has the lead by a score of 9-7. Sweet good from 30, 38, and 45 yards this afternoon. He holds the Grey Cup record of 6. He's halfway there right now.
Great pressure player. Don Sweet, everyone wants it. Don Sweet, an excellent football player, excellent field goal kicker, greatest percentage in the CFL. Big games, he always comes up big. Edmonton Eskimos have got to start moving the football right now, but Montreal definitely has the momentum.
A key drive for Warren Moon and the Eskimos right here from the 35-yard line. Well, he overthrew his would-be receiver John Kalahosky as we go down to Bill Stevenson.
Don, you're looking at David Green, who caught a shot on the back of the neck from Boone. He gave him the forearm across the back of the neck. It is very sore. They're working on it right now. Green says he's all right, though. He'll go back and play, but that's how hard they're hitting out on the field today.
And John Kalahosky, Bill, just limped off to the Edmonton bench after that play, which leaves them second down 10 from the 35-yard line. Here's the pressure on Moon. He's got it away, a strike. Waddell Smith, it'll be first down Eskimos up near the 49-yard line.
Don, in the last couple of series of plays, the Edmonton Eskimos have had receivers opened. When they went to Waddell Smith in the first series when Moon came in to start this half, he was open. This time, Waddell Smith lining up as the wide receiver on the right side, just comes underneath the inside receiver and is wide open, and they are finding the holes in that Montreal zone. And if they can keep the drive going, as you said, it's very important that they get some momentum back on their side.
That's the first completion for Moon, the third catch for Waddell Smith. He has a touchdown, of course, the game's only. Jim Germany is all wrapped up in a neat bundle near the 50-yard line by Tony Petruccio, number 68. And so we're midway through quarter number 3. We'll remind you this is Grey Cup 79 from Montreal. 9-7 Montreal leading Edmonton as we have 7 minutes and 2 seconds of third quarter playing time remaining. Jim Germany was down after the last play and has just made his way across to the Eskimo bench.
Junior IU, the man has had played excellent football, probably the best of his entire career. They feel as Junior goes on the pass rush, the front four can get to Wilkinson or Moon. They can do it with the front four, then their linebackers will take care of the people underneath.
Number 21, Don Warrington, in for Jim Germany for at least this play. Kelly at the 44-yard line of Montreal, an Eskimo first down. Tony Proudfoot, number 23, hauled him down as Warren Moon begins to find his receivers to keep this drive alive.
Don, what he's doing now is getting that protection. Junior IU and the other front four members are not getting to him, and he's running the wide receivers underneath, and they're getting in behind the linebackers, creating a problem for the linebackers. Moon has the time, and the outside receivers, first it was Waddell Smith, this time Kelly, are coming underneath the man going deep.
Moon will retain the ball at the 33-yard line. It should be another first down or very close to it for the Edmonton Eskimos. Junior IU and Glenn Weir reacting defensively on the play. It is first down, Edmonton.
Montreal's playing a 3-deep zone. They're closing off to the outside, and that's why the people are now getting open on the inside. And every time Warren Moon has rolled to the right, they've shut it down. He's got to stay in the pocket. The center of that defense is open.
Kelly heads right. Lang on the left side. Waddell Smith deep in the backfield comes looping out left now. Going for Waddell Smith. And it was knocked away by Jim Marshall. A big defensive play for the former Saskatchewan Rough Rider and Toronto Argonaut, Jim Marshall, right there.
Now they've been running him out of that backfield like that continuously in this second half. That time he was deep and he had the defense beat. He got behind the zone, and the ball hung up there as Moon threw it into the end zone and gave the defender time to get back and knock it down and almost intercept it. Jim Marshall making the big defensive play, but Waddell Smith had gotten in behind that zone.
That leaves the Eskimos second down, 10 from the Montreal 33-yard line, with the Alouettes leading 9-7, 5 minutes to play in the third quarter. Wide open, touchdown, Tony Scott.
I talked about Tommy Scott at the top of the game. He's the person that can break a zone better than anybody in Canadian football today. He's smooth, he's got composure, and when he sees a soft spot, he's going to find it.
You have to wonder, Terry, if that was the actual play, because Stu Lang lined up as the wide receiver on that side, and he started to come in as though he had lined up in the wrong formation, and Warren Moon just warned him to stay out there. Scott ran sort of a post corner, looked to the inside, went out by the flag, and he beaten Larry Utek.
Utek arrived a step too late to prevent the touchdown. And now Dave Cutler with a point after attempt. It's there, and the Eskimos are back on top. Edmonton 14, Montreal 9, with just over 4.5 minutes to play here in the third quarter of a very exciting Grey Cup game. There's the drive, capped on the 33-yard touchdown strike from Warren Moon to Tommy Scott, the ex-Winnipeg Blue Bomber.
Great flexibility of the Edmonton offense is that Huey Campbell teaches those quarterbacks that if the first receiver shut down immediately, go to the secondary man immediately. Don't wait. You've got the receiver that can read the defense. If it's man-on-man, he'll go on top. If it's a zone, he'll find the soft spot. And this is the flexibility that Montreal doesn't have.
John O'Leary, bottom of your screen, is going back with, now Chuck McMahon is consulting with Keith Baker, the other deep man, as Junior IU, who was awesome against Ottawa in the Eastern Final a week ago, has found the going a little tougher today, but he's been effective nonetheless, as the Alouettes have given the Eskimos a pretty good front four rush this afternoon. Here's Cutler's kickoff. headed for Baker at the 11-yard line. Well, he was shopping for room and couldn't buy any. He had to settle for the 30, where Emilio Frietta from the Edmonton Wildcat Juniors, number 37, stopped the kickoff return at 19 yards. Here's the scoring play again.
Oh, this is an excellent coverage. You'll see, he comes backside. He saw it shut down, but he didn't take his eyes off of Tommy Scott at all. Now, you notice that Dickie Harris got caught up short. Larry Utek does not have the ability to get back deep, and he floats it to the outside and gives that receiver a chance to catch the football.
Scott has the Eskimos on top again, 14-9, as the Alouettes are 1st and 10 from their 30. David Green wrapped up early by Larry Highbaugh, who is shooting up there for coverage as Green's swing began, and they'll take 2 yards away from them that play. Let's go down to Don Whitman.
Tommy Scott scored that big go-ahead touchdown. Tommy, did you notice something out there?
No, the field's wet.
What made that play work so well?
I don't know. The protection of the line gave me plenty of time to give a move to the inside, and the defensive back went to the post, and I was able to get to the flag, and Warren put the ball right on the money. So
he certainly did. Let's go back upstairs for more action. Here's Don Chevrier.
All right, Don. Indeed, the field is wet. This is Baker. Good coverage by the Eskimos limits that gain to about 3 yards. Joe Holloman, number 29, and the great linebacker Dan Kepley combining on the hit.
Don, the last couple of plays, this Edmonton club has shown that they can tackle. In the first half, they were a little sloppy, a little tardy in that particular area, but they have really been laying the leather to these Montreal players. Kepley that time getting a good shot.
Rietta's going back with Butler. They're standing in the area of the Eskimo 30-yard line as the Alouettes get set to punt it away. Wally Buono, who's kicked well today for Montreal, standing back near his 20-yard line as we have about 3.5 minutes left here in quarter number 3. Whoops, Butler charged the ball. Frietta winds up with it back near his 25-yard line, and he'll stay right there at the 26. Baker and Cousineau led the Montreal delegation to greet him. Lost 2 yards on the return. A good 48-yard punt, aided by that bounce by Wally Buono.
Well, we talked about the last series when Edmonton had the ball of being important to the Eskimos. It's important now for the Montreal Alouettes to show that they can stop this passing game, because once Edmonton gets all that confidence, especially in their passing game, you know that they can put some points on the board.
Yes, they can. Chasing him. Finds Waddell Smith, his 4th catch of the day, open for a first down at the 47.5-yard line. Grey Cup 79 from Montreal returns in just a moment.
Waddell Smith, leading receiver in Canada this year. Great speed. You see, he looked back at the quarterback. He wasn't running that particular pattern. He was going downfield. The quarterback pumped the football. Warren Moon pumped it. He comes back to the outside. The flexibility of those receivers shown there again.
That's a 21-yard gain. First down, Edmonton Eskimos. Jim Germany. Petruccio all over him with help from Willie Hampton. There'll be little or no gain. Warren Moon, by the way, since coming in relief of Tom Wilkinson, has gone 4 for 7 for 83 yards. That's the story on Wilkie. He was 6 for 10 in the first half. A much better first half for him, I might add. The first half he had of the game against Calgary in the Western Final last week.
Warren Moon 4 for 7, and Wilkie was hot early in that first half as he moved them down twice. Once they got stopped on a 3rd and 1 situation. The other time they scored.
On the 48-yard line, second down. There's Tommy Scott. First down Eskimos at the Montreal 50. And Terry, you can almost sense the momentum now beginning to shift a little bit. Montreal came back with a couple of field goals after the Eskimos touchdown. And now, after the Alouettes took the brief lead, it is the Eskimos on the move following the touchdown pass to Tommy Scott.
Tommy Scott makes this offensive team work. Regardless what anybody tells you, if he's smooth, if he's catching the football, so are the other wide receivers. And then no one finds a dead zone like Tommy Scott.
He's caught 3 for 75 yards and, of course, that one very important touchdown. From Petruccio gets hammered by Wally Buono, and a penalty flag is thrown. The pass for Waddell Smith no good. In the official's view, that was a late hit by Wally Buono, who was taking dead aim on Moon as he released the ball.
Don, you could see the blitz coming from the Montreal defense a little early, and Warren Moon got a little deeper in his rollout situation to get to the outside. Well, listen to Lauren Woods.
Montreal number 39.
Wally Buono, a late hit, and they'll walk off 15.
Don, you're exactly right. There was Buono. The ball was thrown very flat, and Harris had very good coverage on Waddell Smith. He had that good position where Smith could not go by him. He actually tried to push himself by, but Harris, being the good defensive corner, just stayed in that great position, taking the ball away from Smith.
Montreal has paid quite a price in penalties this afternoon, as you just saw, because now it is Edmonton with the lead of 14-9, a minute 5 till three-quarter time, going first down from the Alouette 35-yard line. Germany down to about the 31, getting 4 yards. Wally Buono in on that play again. Junior IU there. Along with Jim Burrow, number 16 for the deep secondary. It's going to be second down and 6. Joe Barnes got off to a bit of a shaky start, but you can't fault his completion percentage. Almost perfect, 9 for 10, 122 yards so far.
Don, you start to see a little more blitzing by this Montreal club. They know they can't sit back in that zone now because they're being picked to pieces, and it puts a lot of pressure on the defensive backs having to cover these fast receivers man-to-man.
So many good, and as you say, fast receivers on the Eskimo offensive lineup. 6 deep backs in now for Montreal defensively. Ball popped out of the hands of Kelly. He had a great chance for the reception. Area of the 15-yard line. Jim Marshall came up and jarred it loose.
Don, a good read by Warren Moon. The blitz was coming. You see number 45, Cousineau, and Buono came, and Kelly ran a great bend-in pattern, but when Warren Moon had to deliver the ball just a little sooner than he wanted to, he threw it just a little bit behind Kelly, and Marshall was there to knock him down when he couldn't quite find the handle on it. But a good read by Warren Moon, feeling the blitz was coming, knowing he's doing a good job of picking the zone apart.
This is Dave Cutler's first field goal attempt coming up on what should be the final play of quarter 3. It will come from the 38-yard line, slight angle left. He's there. A 38-yarder for Dave Cutler. Ups the Eskimo lead to 17-9 on the final play of the third quarter. And so at the end of quarter 3, the score is Edmonton 17, Montreal 9, and Grey Cup 79 continues right after this.
Glenn Weir, what is that Edmonton offense doing differently?
Well, they're going to a little bit of a shorter game. Our rush has got to keep them contained. I think that's our problem. We're letting them out, letting them have a little bit too much time. But I think we'll get that fixed up pretty quick.
Thank you, Glenn Weir.
You're welcome.
On the first play of the fourth quarter, as you saw, Joe Barnes was hit as he was about to unload the ball. It fluttered down. It'll be 2nd and 10.
Again, Terry, they're giving Joe enough protection. It just seems that he is not able to find that receiver downfield.
The guys are not getting away from their coverage. They seem to be floating away from their people instead of making precise cuts. They've got to come back to the football because the Edmonton defensive backs are sitting back there, Russ, a good 15 to 18 yards, and they're running into the coverage.
That was Este with a hit on Joe Barnes. 2nd down now. Barnes takes it up to the 53-yard line. That will be first down, Alouettes.
Well, good defensive protection for the passer. They took the rush to the outside. Barnes came up the middle. There was no one there. Boone, number 64, got taken to the ground. And when he came up the middle, there was nothing in front of him, and he had that first down as soon as he turned it upfield.
That was Ed Jones there with a hit on Barnes. The Alouettes from the 53 go first down. Oh! David Boone. All over. David Green.
Wow, he was lucky to hang on to that ball because David Boone was in the backfield as fast as Barnes got the ball to Green, and he is a big one. Not much of a contest there.
He's been getting double teamed all the first half, and I'm sure he's taken a lot of frustrations on this particular hit right here. Goes up on top. Classic example of tackling and stuff him into the ground.
Oh, they don't hit any harder than that.
David Boone, there he is, second down, 11. Eskimos back into a 3-4. Green, look out. Ball pops loose. Green's got it back. That was his old buddy Carl Cornell right on top of David Green.
Green is a little concerned now. He thought maybe they grabbed the face mask there, but they're trying to set up a screen. Earlier in the first half, they tried to set up a screen that was covered very well. They tried to go to O'Leary. This time throwing the screen out to Green, and Carl Cornell said hello, and he might have had a little complaint that he grabbed that face mask just a little bit.
Wyatt is back with Butler near the 25-yard line as the Alouettes will punt it away. 12 minutes, 35 seconds to play in the fourth quarter. And Edmonton leads Montreal 17-9. High snap, Bono just getting it away. Este right on top of him. Brietta penetrates the 40 to about the 43. 8-yard return. Chuck McMahon made the tackle. A 32-yard punt under some considerable pressure that time by Wally Buono. Este right there in his doorstep.
It'll be interesting, Don, to see where they attack this particular zone, if they'll come to the right side. I think that from the right side, from middle safety to Larry Utek is wide open.
We're not singling out Larry Utek at all. It's just that zone is tough to play when you've got so many talented receivers.
Exactly, Russ.
Moon over the middle. Was nearly picked off down there at the 50-yard line. Tom Cousineau with a glorious opportunity. He still can't believe it.
But again, the situation that they're not getting to Warren Moon, and the receiver was in behind the linebacker. You can see where they're trying to hit in there. Proudfoot was around there, but if Cousineau does not get up and knock that ball down, the reception would have been made in behind those linebackers, and they're getting enough time to find the holes and spread that zone out. Let's go down to Don Whitman.
Pete Laverato, it seems the momentum is changing. Do you agree?
Well, it's changed every play almost. It's just a hell of a game.
A lot of hard hitting out there.
This is the hardest hitting game I've been in my 5 years of CFL ball. That's the way it should be, though.
Penalty marker, Don, has been thrown. The ball was out of bounds. Utek appealing to the officials, but the official right there on the sideline threw the ball as the pattern was being run, and Utek was trailing the receiver downfield, John Konahowski.
Well, it's one of those calls that's very hard to make, and Larry was trying to maintain the good position on Konahowski, who'd gone out to the sideline, then turned it upfield, and he probably got called for using the body to try and force Konahowski to the sideline. Maybe we'll get a look at it here as Warren Moon knew he was doing the out pattern, then turning it upfield, and he pushed before that time Konahowski out of bounds with the body.
That was it. Forced him out of bounds. That is Germany getting about 3 near the 47-yard line of Montreal, where Glenn Weir makes the tackle on him. It's going to be second down and 7. We have got 11 minutes and 15 seconds to play in the Grey Cup game, regulation time. And the Eskimos with 10. Third quarter points against the Alouettes 3, lead at 17-9.
You almost think, Don, that the running plays are just token running plays that Edmonton is using now. It's strictly a passing game for them.
Russell, they're getting their 4 and 5 seconds. Why should they run the football anyway?
That's right. He's getting his time, Warren Moon. Flag has been thrown. Pass no good. Short of Kelly down there at the 35-yard line.
I think we're going to get a holding call against the Edmonton Eskimos.
Believe you're right.
Down. Fine, thank you. It'll be third down, third down.
They're going to decline. Here's referee Lauren Woods.
Holding. Edmonton number 67. Decline.
Jim Germany with a 62-yard day so far for the Eskimos rushing. David Green, the big story for Montreal, with 116. First down Montreal from their 10-yard line, trailing 17-9. Here's Green for 5, about 7-8 yards. As he gets up near the 18-yard line where Carl Cornell, number 39, made the stop. We have 9 minutes and 55 seconds to go, gentlemen.
Tom Cousineau.
Tom Cousineau. who is getting better every game. In fact, the Alouettes really feel he will not show his worth truly until next year, maybe the year after.
O'Leary leading this play, and Green just finding that seam off tackle, going in behind O'Leary, and he's had a lot of yards on that particular play this afternoon.
Second down, about 2.5. John O'Leary will have the first down as he gets across the 20-yard line. Cornell again with the tackle. Well, here's the passing story with the Eskimos taking definite charge now with all those receivers for Wilkie in the first half and now Moon in the second half to throw to. They're going to bring the sticks out to confirm whether or not this is a Montreal first down near the 20-yard line.
You have the feeling, Don, that Montreal is going to have to put that ball in the air a little bit right now. Maybe the play-action passes throwing to O'Leary might be the answer at this stage because they've got to move that ball out of their own end. They cannot kick from their own end all the time and give Edmonton that good field position.
It is first down from just across the 20.
Montreal's taken too much time in developing their series of their downs. I know David Green's playing excellent foot, great running today, but they're taking too much time to move that ball down out of their own end.
And time is not on their side at the moment. For Baker, the ball behind him. He cannot recover in time to make the reception near the 35-yard line with Joe Holloman right there with him.
Well, he did go with just a little play action on that rollout to O'Leary, and Baker had done a good job of pushing Joe Holloman deep and coming back, but the ball was thrown behind him, as you said, Don. It could have been a good first down for them, but he did get to the outside. Just a little fake inside to David Green, not O'Leary. O'Leary out there blocking as well, but Baker was wide open as he pushed Holloman deep in the man-to-man coverage. Ball just thrown behind him, but it would have been a big first down because that's what Montreal, I feel, has to do on first down more often.
Big play right here. The Alouettes want to keep this drive alive on 2nd and 10. Round to Baker. Flag is thrown. It'll be clipping Montreal likely. Baker has enough for the first down, but the Alouettes, I fear, have been called for clipping to bring it back. It was Ray Watford, number 52, trying to make the block on Butler to free Baker, and as a result, they'll bring it back. The Eskimos, I'm sure, will gladly accept.
Another penalty. Every time they've come up with a big play, they've got themselves in bad position because of penalties. And not good ones either. They've been kind of stupid penalties, and that's something that really will upset the coach.
Montreal, number 52.
That's who it was, Ray Watford. We'll see it happen right here, I think, Terry.
Sure, we'll take a good look. It was another razzle-dazzle. The same play they played earlier in the first quarter, but he wasn't passing this time. It wasn't much of a clip, but he got his hands out there and he interfered with him.
That's right. Interference from the back of the opponent. That's just how the rule reads.
And Butler played it exceptionally well because he stayed outside. He knew he had to turn him back outside, and Watford had no chance to block him, and he just tried to get away with the little push, but the official was standing about 2 yards away from him.
So the Alouettes are back with his drive started at the 10-yard line, this time 2nd down and 20. And it's too far for David Green. Or Larry Smith, it is, 36, out of bounds near the 25-yard line, and the Eskimos are about to get the ball back.
And in
with 8 minutes and 13 seconds remaining. Well, there's the helicopter over Olympic Stadium. It is providing this sensational picture for you this afternoon. Just great work, guys.
Isn't that just some picture, though?
Wow.
Why don't you just give it to him?
I'm sure they must
when
have
they put the roof on, Russ, it'll spoil that shot.
I'm sure they must have had a great view of that halftime show as well from up there.
I'm sure. So it's Wally Buono now. That little dot you see down there, stepping back into the end zone. There's a better view of him. To punt it away on 3rd down and 20. A good kick by Wally Buono across midfield to Butler at the Eskimo 50-yard line. And good coverage by the Owls contained Butler at center field. Right now, let's join Bill Stevenson.
This is Canada's outstanding football player, David Green. David, that Montreal or that Edmonton defense is extremely tough.
Well, I tell you, if we can cut down on a few of the penalties, I think we can make the drive and score and beat them. Not that tough, you know. They're giving us a fit, though, as far as rushing the quarterback is concerned. But if we cut down on those penalties, I think we can beat them.
You think you can run on them, do you?
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah, I think so.
Thank you very much, David Green. All right, Don.
Bill, here is Jim Germany getting a couple near the 53-yard line of the Montreal Alouettes, where Tom Cousineau, number 45, meets him. Midway through the final quarter. This is Grey Cup 79 from Montreal. That's what it's all about, folks, the Grey Cup. 65,000 people here at Olympic Stadium, millions more across the country, as the Edmonton Eskimos right now have a pretty good grip on it, 17-9, with 7 minutes and 10 seconds remaining. Jim Germany stopped well short of the first down. Rolled back by Cousineau and Junior Ayew. So the Eskimo drive stalls, and Montreal will get the ball back. Terry and Russ were saying a moment ago while we left you just for a minute that nobody wants to make a mistake right now, because the next big play, the next big turnover certainly could spell the outcome of this game.
We're seeing more of a conservative game right now, and you're right, Don. They don't want to turn the ball over. And you can take a look at it here. Tom Cousineau makes an excellent tackle, sheds off the block of Eric Upton, and it's something to do with misdirection plays. You're not going to fool a Cousineau. That's his best sport, reading the backfield, his key, the fullback.
Here is Hank Alisic. Hangs it high and out of bounds. Going to mark it in the area, it appears, of the 11-yard line for the Alouette first down. Back very close to where they were in the previous series of plays. The 41-yard punt, but it went out of bounds and cost Alisic about 10 or 15 yards. Well, comparison time again. And again, it's very close in first downs. Montreal with a rushing game and the Eskimos with the passing game. And that's been the story, the way it was expected to go.
Don, that's the way we expected it to go, although we didn't think that David Green would be able to run as well as he has against this Edmonton defense. But again, as I mentioned in the last series, I feel Montreal has to go with some play action on first down. They are in a rather tough spot on their 11-yard line.
Eskimos with a 4-man line against the Owls on first down. Joe Barnes getting out of trouble. Takes it up for a Montreal first down to the 25-yard line.
Well, there was the play action we expected possibly, but Joe Barnes got away from the rush. They did not go for the play action and had the good pressure on him and made the first down. He does give the little hand fake in there to O'Leary and goes back, but Este, who's now out as that defensive end, just ran around hole number 66 and put the pressure on Barnes, but couldn't bring him down, and Joe went upfield and got the big first down, about 14 yards.
This is David Green for 10. 15 yards, fumbles the football. Montreal gets it back, an extra 5 yards on the fumble. There is a break that Huey Campbell, I know, wishes had gone the other way, but it came so close to an Edmonton turnover. Here it is.
Boy, we got it right here. First off, you don't get Joe Barnes on the rush. To come back, David Green hits up inside. The best power runner in Canadian football right now, breaking tackles left and right, comes in, lowers his head. Peter Leverado strips the football, bounces around.
Butler had it too for a moment.
Yes, he did.
But Doug Payton made the recovery, so the Alouette drive will continue. Barnes on the sidelines to Bob Gaddis at the Edmonton 51. Another Montreal first down. Well, there are a lot of mums watching all over the country, and I know they're enjoying this game as much as we are here today. Here's the play with Joe Barnes unloading to Gaddis.
Well, Joe Barnes rolling to the outside. Nobody near him to put any pressure on him, and Gaddis found the hole in between Jones and Highbaugh. In isolation, we see him go down there. He slipped just a little bit, but he found that particular spot. It's between Butler and Highbaugh, and got the first down, and this crowd's starting to come alive again.
They are, with 4:40 remaining. 17-9 Edmonton. Quick pop over the center for Delariva, got knocked away.
Ron Este, number 55, up in the air to knock that ball down. Pete Laverado, number 7, on the ground out there, a little hurt, as we see on a replay. Este, who's now in playing that middle guard on the 3-man line. It was not him that got up there. It was actually number 42, Dan Kepley, who knocked the ball down.
First pass to Delariva all day, and the defensive back will know it. Peter now starts to make a move off that line of scrimmage. He knows now he's a primary receiver, and he's going to play him up tight.
Laverado's all right. He's staying in there at 2nd down and 10. For Delareva, popped out of his hands into the arms of Butler, and the Eskimos with a turnover. Now here's a penalty marker being thrown.
Well, I'm not sure who's going to get the penalty. It seemed like Montreal maybe came in a little late. Then Carl Cornell came in, and now we got a little bit of a problem on the field, which is unfortunate in a game like this. And Coach Joe Scannella is out there trying to get everybody out of there, and he's doing the right thing by saying, come on, get out of here, guys. Let's go. And we got another fight.
Well, the emotions naturally run high, and the frustrations peak this late in the game with 4:13 left. As the coaches, as you say, Scannella, now Campbell taking a look out in that area, and the officials are finally separating the players. Nothing more than a lot of pushing and shoving, and I'm sure the odd uncomplimentary remark.
What do you have?
And the officials now will sort this one out.
But Roland Mangold came in a little late, I felt, but then Carl Cornell came in after him to hit Mangold, feeling he had hit a little late. So I'm not sure what it's going to be. We'll have to wait for the officials. Lauren Woods conferring with his crew to find out exactly what penalties we will have.
Russ, you know Montreal's always been a very physical team, and if they can intimidate you, they like to do it at this type of time of the game. They figure, not bad field position, take it to you. Let's listen to Lauren right now.
Okay, we got unnecessary roughness. Montreal number 58. Okay? We have unnecessary roughness. Edmonton, unnecessary roughness. Okay, Edmonton. We got. All right.
Is that one each way?
Sounds like that.
Well, we know we've got Mangold, number 58, but then I'm not sure whether they called Carl Cornell. It doesn't look like it. It looks like it's only going against the Alouettes, and Carl Cornell came in after Mangold had come in. But again, a penalty hurting the Alouettes here. Very important with the intercept and the penalty.
Let's take a look at it now. Let's see the thing develop. Peter Delareva was a catchable ball. It got out of his hands. Butler comes up with it.
There's the stick right there.
So it is one penalty against Montreal, and a big one following the interception. It takes him to the 51-yard line. We have 4 minutes, 5 seconds left now. Edmonton leads 17-9. Germany, maybe a yard of the 50. Willie Hampton, number 62, made the tackle on him. The Eskimos want to grind it out now and kill some of this time, as you see David Green there waiting for his chance again at the Montreal bench.
Terry, you're not a little surprised that Edmonton isn't putting the ball in the air, because they've had so much success and they're trying to control the game by running, and yet they controlled it in the best part of this second half, especially the entire third quarter, by throwing it.
Russ, all season long, they've passed first down, run second. If they get first and 3, well, then they'll run. But this way, they've just reversed their field, and I am surprised with them.
Well, as you said earlier, you can sense they're being a little conservative here, a little careful. Here's Moon, nowhere near the first down. In fact, just back to the line of scrimmage where Wally Buono hauled him down. It's going to be third down, the better part of 10.
And again, he rolled out with strictly run in mind. He did not take any depth on the rollout. He's tucking that ball in right now, and he isn't looking downfield to throw it. That was designed run from the time he took the ball from the center. And again, when they had so much success throwing it downfield, I'm surprised.
Well, you see it in all kinds of sports. In hockey, certainly, when a team sits back at a 2-goal lead, it'll backfire. Right now, it is going to give Montreal one more chance for a drive. Here is Dickie Harris joins Keith Baker back near the goal area. Here's the rush on Olisic. He didn't get much of it. It bounces out of bounds at the Edmonton bench, and Montreal improves their field position tremendously. Here it is, guys. Tony Proudfoot got a piece of the football. Number 23. Deflecting it across field to the 37-yard line. And that is the second best start for a Montreal drive in the entire game. Barnes for Gaddis, can't get it to him. Larry Highball with the coverage on Bob Gaddis at center field. That has been the story really in this half. But the Eskimos, with a conservative offense, as we have stated, content to let the Alouettes start very, very deep, as they have, with the confidence that they can stop their drive at center field or better, and in most cases that has been true.
Don, they haven't been coming up with that important second down pass play. The Montreal receivers are different than the Edmonton receivers. They're not real good pattern runners. A lot of speed, but not good pattern runners.
Here's a big conversion attempt on second down right now. And Gaddis dropped the ball at center field. That was catchable. Larry Highball there to put some pressure on him, but Bob Gaddis had it in his hands. But now it's 3rd down and 10.
They came back with exactly the same play they had run previously. They did not get the ball to Gaddis because he slipped, and Highbaugh slipped trying to come up there, and Barnes didn't throw it that well. This time Gaddis ran deep, got Highbaugh pushed off, just didn't make the catch.
No, Russ, an important thing is here, he jumps when he doesn't have to jump.
Right.
He loses some of that concentration. Keep your feet on the ground. Coaches will always tell you, keep your balance down, get your hands out and catch that football, not with your body.
And he could have maintained the good position on the ball with Highbaugh in behind him. Good point.
2.5 minutes left. The Alouettes must give it back once more. Another fine effort by Wally Buono. Butler back at his 23-yard line will reach the area of the 29. A 50-yard punt by Buono. Coverage by DeTilio and McMahon. And as Terry said a moment ago, the special teams both ways have been outstanding in this Grey Cup game.
Well, Marv Levy, when he was in Montreal, brought the special teams to a high percentage point with Montreal. They've just carried on. Excellent athletes. Big pressure people. They come and they play well in the big games. And today they brought their best special teams, I think, all season long.
The Eskimos will start from the 29 with 2 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. The clock will start on the snap of the ball. Jim Germany. No gain, out of bounds, far sideline.
And you want to keep that ball on the playing field because the clock will stop now, and that's exactly what the Alouettes want to happen. You might as well throw the ball downfield if you're going to do that, because that only took two or three particular seconds. We're going to watch some line play. Ayu doing a good job of stringing this out with Burrow, and they forced Germany out of bounds, which is, as I say, exactly what the Alouettes want.
Well, the Eskimos content to run. The Alouettes intent on throwing, but Joe Barnes has struck out in his last 5 pass attempts, and the Eskimos certainly are not moving it with the running game. This is 2nd down, about 9. Early movement there by Gordy Judges. Germany is contained short of the 35-yard line, but the Eskimos should be getting 5 here. An offside penalty against the Als. We're down to the final 2 minutes and 10 seconds of the game.
And it's really interesting, having been there, Don, to see the emotion in the faces of these particular players. Lauren Woods will tell us, I'm sure, that there was offside.
Offside, Montreal number 75.
That was Gordy Judges.
And Don, the emotion really comes out now because it is a close ball game. They know that one play can turn this particular game around. The entire season is built around winning that old gray mug down there called the Grey Cup.
There's Gordy Judges. The Edmonton trainers are out there now attending to Jim Germany, who went down, got up, and is back down again. And, of course, he has represented almost the entire Eskimo offense for half this quarter, as they have kept a low profile, protecting a 17-9 lead. Let's look at that last play along the line again. Gordy Judges with the early movement just to the left of your screen for the offside. Well, of course, the Football Reporters of Canada have 4 members going to the Hall of Fame. Al Walker, Baz O'Meara, Montreal star Ted Reeve, great writer in Toronto for many years, Ivan Miller of Hamilton, all have joined the Canadian Football Hall of Fame as Football Reporters of Canada members. Jim Germany now, still some difficulty as he finds his way across field to the Eskimo bench. Right now, let's go down and join Bill.
Larry Smith is with me. Larry, things look a little bleak, but how's the feeling on the bench?
Well, we're still optimistic. We have to get the ball back, and hopefully with about a minute and a half, and we have to just score a touchdown and get a safety touch, and that's our only hope.
So you still think you got the chance?
Well, the game isn't over yet, and we always have a chance.
All right. Thank you, Larry Smith.
2nd down and 4. Warren Moon is close to that first down marker, but I think he's going to be short by 1.5 yards or so. He was contained by Tom Cousineau, number 45, and Tony Proudfoot, number 23. And indeed, the Eskimo punting team trots on.
Don, a real good defensive play by Cousineau and the rest of the deep secondary, because Warren Moon came out there and he delayed just a little bit too long to get the first down. If he turned it upfield a little sooner, I think he might have found the seam before Cousineau got out there, but it was roll all the way, and the receivers had gone downfield. But Cousineau had enough time to get out there and make the good hit from the inside.
Well, Proudfoot got a piece of Illicic's last effort. Let's see if the Alouettes are going for it here with 1:53 remaining. Here they come. He's got it away.
Great kick, too.
High, way down to the 25-yard line for Baker. A flag has been thrown as Baker finds some good field position. Keith Baker. Baker's into the end zone, but I think it's going to be called back. There was a penalty marker down for what appeared to be a Montreal clip.
Well, it was a definite clip, Don. There was no question about it, and the players who were back in the area knew before Baker really turned it downfield. He didn't know because he was running with the ball. But that really turned the fans on, that long return, but the fans are booing.
91 yards wiped out on this call.
Clip. Montreal, number 9.
Jerry DiTilio is called for clipping. It wipes out a 91-yard touchdown return.
And Jerry DiTilio knew that because as Baker was running downfield, he was walking off the field dejected. But the clip is going to, there it is right there. It happened long before Baker had broken in the clear. The flag had been thrown now, and you might have almost called another clip there, but the guy didn't have the flag to throw. But Jerry DiTilio about this time is walking off the field dejected because he knew he'd thrown a clip that's going to call this thing all back. Fans are upset, but a great call by the officials. They have to make them.
The call was there. You're right. It had to be made, but heartbreak for the Alouettes and their supporters. They thought that Baker had run them right back into this Grey Cup game. And there, it tells you how the Alouettes feel about this latest turn of events. Jerry Friesen.
Almost looks like he's going to break out in tears.
Jerry Friesen is down out there, receiving attention. The other players not dressed for Montreal, sharing in the emotion of the moment here. Friesen from Saskatchewan will be helped off now, and Joe Scannella will be thinking about that clipping call, as will Jerry DiTilio for many, many months to come. But as you said, Russ, Terry agrees. No question about the infraction.
It's going to come up right now. There it is on Laverado, number 7. And that actually, as much as you say, well, it might have been a good block, helped spring him because Laverado's the contain man, and he had good position to make the tackle on Baker had he not been clipped.
The Alouettes are back at the 12-yard line. First down. Barnes out to David Green. And Green takes it up near the 30-yard line. That will be another first down for Montreal. But the penalties indeed have hurt the Alouettes with 122 yards in 14 calls.
Well, Joe Barnes not getting any pressure. Edmonton knows he's going to throw. They're going to give him the short situations. This time dumping it off to the backfielder, David Green, who made the first down, and they're going now without a huddle.
Alouettes coming out quickly. Here's Barnes getting pressure, but away. And he had to throw quickly and could not get it to John O'Leary. Underthrew him. 1 minute, 9 seconds left. 17-9 Edmonton.
Well, both Dave Fennell and David Boone, number 64 and 5, had a shot at Joe Barnes. He got away from them, and it was Este that finally put the hit on him as he threw that ball and stopped the clock, and that again is important.
The final minute, I want to thank our CBC crew in the East this year for their great work all season. And again today, spotter Art Darch, our statisticians Doug Kelcher, John Pickett. A great job, guys. A great season of football it's been. Down to its final minute, perhaps, at least in regulation time right now. Barnes can't find Baker. It's going to be third down, Montreal.
Well, with 1 minute to go, the flag just went up. You have to look for the Alouettes to go on a third down situation. They cannot afford to give the ball back to the Eskimos because they could probably run the clock out. And we see that we have a record crowd here. It's a full house, over 65,000.
Something very important for the Montreal franchise. They have an outstanding defense, outstanding special teams. The player of the year in David Green. They don't have a passing attack, and it's evident now. Otherwise, it could have been a different ball game.
The football reporters have chosen the 3 outstanding players in this game. We'll tell you about them as soon as this play wraps up because it's a very big one, perhaps the last chance for the Montreal Alouettes. Third down from their 30-yard line. And that could be it as the ball pops free. The Eskimos will take over on downs at the 29-yard line with 52 seconds remaining. And the Eskimos are that much time away from claiming a Grey Cup. And ironically, the three outstanding players in the game are all Montreal players. David Green, the offensive player of the game. Tom Cousineau is the defensive player. There is David Green. And the Canadian of the game is Don Sweet. So David Green puts an outstanding player in the Grey Cup award to go alongside his outstanding player in the country award, which he claimed earlier this week. But the Eskimos are just seconds away from the Grey Cup.
And Don, having been there, I'm sure the Edmonton Eskimos are much happier taking the Grey Cup home than a couple of cars. Not that there's anything wrong with winning those cars.
They will simply grind down as many seconds as they can. And right now they take it down to 49 as the ball is grounded back at the 35-yard line. Tom Wilkinson, as you saw, back in for this series. Warren Moon took the Eskimos through the entire second half until this point, after Wilkie quarterbacked them in the first half. The story was Edmonton's Tommy Scott with a key touchdown to give the Eskimos the lead they had relinquished ever so briefly. They got 10 points in the third quarter. The Alouettes 3. This fourth quarter has been scoreless. Down goes Wilkie again, giving up yardage every time, but getting it down to 26 seconds.
Don, some of the people might wonder why he's going back so far, but you realize that if he goes down on his knee, they stop the clock right then. So he's trying to get a bit more than just the time in the huddle by dragging it back just a little bit. And we have 26 seconds left on the clock, and they cannot run it out. So I feel they're probably going to punt that ball.
Here comes Hank Olisic, set in by that man, Hugh Campbell. Looking for his second consecutive Grey Cup victory here after the 20-13 win the Eskimos chalked up last year in Toronto, leading by 8 points, 17-9 at the moment. 26 seconds left, and the countdown begins. The clock is moving. Dickie Harris is the only man back. The Alouettes will all be coming here. 7 seconds remaining. Almost blocked, just away from Olisic. At the goal line, Dickie Harris. He's all wrapped up, and so is the Grey Cup for the Edmonton Eskimos. 2 in a row for Campbell's Eskimos, winning it 17-9 over the hometown Montreal Alouettes before 65,000 at the Big O today.
And Don, even though the score was 17-9, I had the feeling that the Edmonton Eskimos, if they had to score some points and put the ball in the air a little bit more in that fourth quarter, were capable of doing it offensively today.
David Green was all Montreal. You can't ask one player to move an entire team. They've got to get some pass receivers. They've got to get a new passing theory to go along with all those other outstanding aspects of their team, and then they will be there next year. If they don't, they're not going to be there.
Well, Hugh Campbell goes to the pass. He's told us so often because he has the personnel for it. And, of course, with John O'Leary and David Green, there's no question Joe Scannella has the personnel for a great running game, but the passing game beat that running game today. The Alouettes, with a near break for the touchdown by Baker, called back by Natilio's clip, made it exciting, but they could not handle the Western and now the national champions of 1979, the Edmonton Eskimos. There is the Prime Minister, the Premier of Alberta you saw, and Jake Goodor getting ready for the presentation of the 1979 Grey Cup.
Don, you have to give a lot of credit to both these clubs. They've been outstanding and put on just a great game for us this afternoon. There was a lot of offense, and it was very moving to see the entire ball game played. There were a lot of penalties, but it was a real ball game throughout 60 minutes.
Now we will have the Grey Cup presentation from the Prime Minister. Well, many of the Eskimos have gone inside. We hope to be talking with them in just a few minutes. Of course, the co-captains are out there to accept the Grey Cup. Here it is, heading west once again. And Kepley, Tom Wilkinson sharing it right now. Larry Highbaugh with his hands on it, and that'll be passed around, I'm sure.
And it won't be empty when it's passed around.
Containing the proper ingredients, I might add, in just a very short time. Tom Wilkinson, is this the end for him? He's 1979, his second straight Grey Cup, going to cap it after a super career. Or will he go on, Terry?
Oh, he's got to go on. He's the master. He makes that team really move. They're bringing Warren Moon along slowly, and it's because of his experience that they can do that. Edmonton knows that in Canadian football you have to pass the football, and they got two people that can do it as well as anybody.
Well, that's a happy bunch you see filing in. We'll get to them a little later on, but right now let's get over to Tom McKee. Thomas?
Well, thank you very much, Don Chevrier. Job well done. As you could see, the players filing into their dressing room, they're very happy. Grey Cup champion Edmonton Eskimos. We have our equipment set up down there, and in just a few minutes, at the request of Edmonton, they want a few moments to themselves, and certainly we respect that request. We will be going down there with Bill Stevenson and Don Whitman to talk to some of the players and have the outstanding player offense and defense along with outstanding Canadian player awards. Ironically, they all go to Montreal Alouettes, David Green, Tom Cousineau, and Don Sweet. Grey Cup 79 will continue in just a moment. Back at Olympic Stadium, Don Whitman is standing by with the Grey Cup winning coach, Hugh Campbell.
Hugh, congratulations. Hugh, congratulations on your second Grey Cup victory. 17-9, the final score. A really tough, hard-hitting ball game all the way.
Oh, my goodness, it sure was. And I think we made a mistake. We crawled in our shell a little bit early there at the end, but it came out right for us. Montreal gave us all we could possibly handle and still win the football game. I was thankful that good officiating that they saw. There were two clips on that punt return. I'm glad they caught one of them anyway.
I don't think there was any doubt about the two clips. Alisic was the other one who got bowled over after the initial clip had been made.
That's right.
Some of the fans weren't particularly pleased, but I don't think there's much doubt.
Well, this is what I would like to emphasize, how tough it is to win a Grey Cup in somebody else's stadium. It hasn't been done in modern history. No visiting team has won a Grey Cup. So we've won two in a row, but this one was much, much tougher than last year's when we played it on a more or less a neutral field.
Huey, a great advantage having a second quarterback who can go in and direct an attack such as Warren Moon did when he was called in from the bullpen.
Yeah, second in numbers, not in level, where they're both first-string quarterbacks, and it gives us a great alternative. And Wilkie was ready to go back in and anxious to go back in if the situation had demanded it, but it didn't. And I thought Warren just stood in beautifully and threw the ball just as well as Wilkie did the first quarter.
Hugh Campbell, congratulations on a second Grey Cup victory. Now Bill Stevenson is standing by with Waddell Smith, the man who scored the initial touchdown.
All right, let's bring up Waddell Smith, who is also the outstanding player in Western Canada, runner-up in the Shenley Award. Waddell, this was a highly emotional game and a big victory.
Well, this is the thing that we set out for at the beginning of the season, and I think that's the only thing anyone should try to predict that they can win or wants to win is the Grey Cup. It is the thing of professional excellence, and the team that is excellent won it.
That's right. Waddell, tell us how you scored that first touchdown. That was a very big one.
Well, just caught it and ran. I was a little lucky. The right place at the right time.
How were they covering you, the Montreal defense?
Well, in certain situations, they doubled me, put a man on the line of scrimmage to bump me, to throw me off my pattern. But with our playbook and our coaching staff, they came up with something to get me free in order to open up the other receivers. And the receivers played a fine game today.
Well, the game as tough as you thought it would be?
Yes. At Montreal, what can you say about them other than they are a good team? It was, our offensive line, I like to say, probably played the best game of the season. They came off the ball, and it was bite or get bit.
All right. Waddell Smith, congratulations.
I'd like to say hello to Susan and Todd Cook back there in Edmonton, and I hope we'll be home soon.
All right, we've been looking for you. Whit, take over.
That saves the cost of a phone call, doesn't it? Dave Fennell had a lot more problems opening this bottle of champagne than he did with that Montreal Alouette offensive line today, but that was really a tough, hard-hitting ball, Dave.
It was a very physical game. They were very determined to win, and we were just as determined to stop them. And fortunately, things came our way. I can just say that we played with a hell of a group of football players, and I just thank God that I'm on this team.
Quite a week for you as another Shenley Award and a Grey Cup victory.
Well, this was what we came here for, and boy, does that make me feel happy.
Quite a different ball game from the Thanksgiving Day game where you ran them out of the park 47-6.
Well, Montreal is a veteran team, and they got a lot of pride, and they were sure not going to let that happen to them today. So we knew we were going to be in for a knuckle duster, and luckily we came out on top.
Dave, Joe Barnes started off very strongly the first play of the game. He ran with the ball, an indication of the type of game he was going to have.
Well, he was prepared to sacrifice himself for the good of his team today, and that was one of those things that we had to cope with, and I have to congratulate Joe for his excellent effort.
Dave Fennell, congratulations on your Shenley Award and also on your Grey Cup victory. Okay, Bill Stevenson, who have you got?
Who have I got? I've got Dan Kepley, and he's got a bottle of champagne he's working on here. All right.
And it feels good. And it feels good.
Dan?
It feels so good.
Does it feel great?
Feels great. We had a slow first half. We came back, had a little trouble with the running game, shutting them down early. David ran hard. He ran really hard. You got to give him a lot of credit. He's the best runner. But we came back. I got to say hello, I promise. All the fellas at the point after back there. And this is a special toast to all the Oilers, Eddie Meal and Gretzky and Chipperfield, all those. Thanks a lot.
Think the place might jump a little bit tonight.
I think this whole city, Montreal's not big enough for us tonight. I'll tell you that right now.
Dan
Thank you
Kepley,
very much.
congratulations. All right, Whit, take it away.
Eric Upton, congratulations not only on the Grey Cup victory, but your selection as an All-Star guard.
Oh, thanks very much. I don't know. It couldn't be a better year for me. Winning the Grey Cup and being an All-Star, it's everything I ever wanted. This year has just topped everything off.
That was a tough ball game.
I'll tell you, they're a tough team. They're a good team defensively, and they come on hard. It's just a matter of us just getting it together. I knew we could do it. It was a matter of just doing it, and we did it.
Great. You have a great situation where you have two people who can come in and replace each other in your quarterbacks. Tom Wilkinson started. He was having some problems, and the Mad Bomber came on and took over.
Well, you know, Tom, he's a master of everything. When he comes in, you know he's going to be thinking, you know he's going to be doing stuff. And he got us that first touchdown. He got the ball moving. We knew we were going to be able to move it on him. And when Warren comes in, you know he's going to start throwing. He's going to change the whole complexion of the game, and that means the defense is going to have to change. So that's all we did. We just did that, move it around, and every time they switch to the quarterbacks, we're used to that now. So it's all right.
Well, you had a tough defensive struggle last week against the Calgary Stampeders and winning the Western Championship. Another tough struggle again today, but you fellas came through. And as I said to Dave Fennell, quite a different ball game from that Thanksgiving Day game.
Yeah, it was in a way, but both of them were tough. I mean, I think if we're going to win it, we want to win in a game like that. I mean, those are the kind of games you just go for. You know, you want to win it. You don't want to blow everybody off the field.
I think you'd like to be leading about 35-0 at halftime, wouldn't you?
It'd make us feel more comfortable, maybe, but I think I like those kind of ball games. Nice and close all the way to the end. And I want to say hi to everybody in Ottawa and hi to everybody in Edmonton sitting there watching the game. It was just great.
The telephone company aren't going to be pleased with all these free messages being passed along, Bill.
I know.
Okay, Bill Stevenson.
All right, I've got Tom Wilkinson. Wilkie, this is the culmination of another great season for you, and as you predicted, a very tough ball game.
Well, that's right, Bill. You know, when we come into this game, we knew that they were a very good football team. We played them earlier in the year and beat them by a lot of points, only because we got a couple breaks early in the game, and then it was catch-up football, and we knew it would be a very, very physical football game, and that's the way it was.
There is rather a sour note, I know, and that's the fact that you win the Grey Cup and you don't win the special awards. That makes you feel a little unhappy.
Well, just, you know, I thought like Don Sweet kicked all their points, you know. I thought he'd be deserving, and I think Green played very, very well, but I felt, you know, with our defense not letting them get any touchdowns, there's somebody out there must have shined pretty good. That's all, you know, not taking away anything. I just felt we must have somebody.
Tom, is this liable to be your last season?
Well, I'll wait and think about it. It's certainly getting closer all the time, but I'd like to take this time to say hi to my kids and my mom, and then I've got some relatives in Montana that went down and watched the game, and especially Tracy. I got to say hi to Tracy. And then a young friend of mine, Mark, I want to say hi to him. It's his birthday coming up, and I'm happier than you can believe.
All right. Well, it's been quite a career, quite a season. Congratulations on a great Grey Cup.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tom Wilkinson. And now let's go to Tom McKee.
Okay, thank you very much, Bill. They're having a lot of fun down there, justifiably so. A hard-nosed football game this afternoon. It's almost a little frustrating, perhaps, that there really had to be a winner. Maybe both teams are winners, who knows. We'll be back in just a moment. You are watching Grey Cup 79. Let's pause for these words.
Well, apart from the Grey Cup, individual awards in this 1979 game. And to assist me with the presentation, my confrère from the CBC French Network, Guy Lecavier.
Eh bien, pour les trophées individuels, nous allons tout d'abord commencer par les joueurs par excellence à l'attaque et à la défensive. First, for the individual awards, we'll go to the offensive and defensive outstanding players. The Labatt's Awards will be presented by Mr. Pierre Desjardins, President for Labatt's Brewery for Eastern Canada. La présentation du trophée aux joueurs le plus utile à l'attaque et à la défensive sera faite par un ancien Alouette de Montréal, M. Pierre Desjardins. Donc, the offensive outstanding player of the game, David Green.
Au nom de la brasserie Labatt, il nous fait un grand plaisir de présenter ces trophées. On behalf of Labatt Breweries, Dave, it's an extreme pleasure to present you with the most outstanding offensive player of the game. Congratulations. Thank you. And with that, I give you the keys to your Monte Carlo this year. Hope you enjoy the ride. Okay?
David, congratulations on your selection. A tough, hard-hitting ball game. I know you're disappointed at the loss.
Oh, yeah, I'm very, very disappointed.
You can look forward to next year. What happened to the shoulder? Were you injured in the ball game?
Oh, no, it was an injury in the Hamilton game. You know, after every game, I always ice it down and make sure it'll be all right for the next week, but it's over.
All right, now we'll call again on Mr. Pierre Desjardins.
Tom, on behalf of Labatt Breweries, we congratulate you for winning the award, most outstanding defensive player of the game. Congratulations. Here's the keys to your card. We hope you enjoy it. Congratulations again.
Tom Cousineau, your reaction to the game?
Well, I'm just thrilled to have had a chance to play in a great game like this. It's what it's all about. You know, that's what football is all about. Boils down to championship game, and you can't take anything away from Edmonton. They played great. We played great in spots where we made some big mistakes that really hurt us. But I believe you make your own breaks, and Edmonton forced us into making some mistakes, and all the credit in the world to them.
Donc, le joueur défensif par excellence qui a été Tom Cousineau, secondaire intérieur, qui a rendu crédit aux Eskimos d'Edmonton pour leur victoire. Il y a également un autre trophée, celui du joueur canadien par excellence lors de cette rencontre, le trophée Duck Suderman CPR. The best Canadian player of the game will receive the CPR and Dick Suderman trophy, and Mr. Ed Ogden, Vice President for CPR, will present the trophy to Don Sweet from the Montreal Alouettes. Don Sweet est le vainqueur du meilleur joueur canadien.
Don Sweet, congratulations. The trophy being presented.
Congratulate you again, Don. This is the third time in 6 years you've won the Dick Suderman Award, donated by Canadian Pacific. And I certainly want to congratulate you. And also, here's a couple of tickets anywhere in CPR's system that you want to go in the next couple of years.
That's great.
All the best to you.
Thank you very much. I didn't hear what the other fellow said, but I'm sure they must have said something along the same lines, that we'd rather have this another cup. I'm sure they did say something like that. I'd like to say that this here is really a team trophy. I'm very happy to receive it. I think it was a great game that we put on, or a good show for the Canadian people. I just praise God for being able to play this game like all other people, all other Christians. And winning isn't always what we do on the field. It's just the end result in this case. And I feel it's the same way as that if we put our best effort into it and play our best. But on behalf of the Alouettes, I accept this award.
Don Sweet, prior to the game when I talked with you, you said I'd sooner let Dave Cutler kick all the field goals. I'd like to kick about 6 point afters. That really didn't happen today, unfortunately.
I said he could have 5 field goals and I'll take 5 extra points. So it didn't work out that way. By the way, say hello to my buddies in Vancouver. They know who I am, and especially the old fire hall out in Richmond. Okay.
Well, everybody's saying hello and passing on messages. Again, Don Sweet, congratulations. Let's now go over to Bill Stevenson.
All right, let's bring John Konahowski in here. Come on, step up, and here's another great Canadian receiver for the Edmonton Eskimos. This was a ball game that turned out to be an excellent Grey Cup. Many people said it would be lopsided. It was anything but.
We played against Montreal in the Grey Cup before, and we know they're a Grey Cup team. We beat them quite badly in Edmonton.
But I know, they came up big in the first half and the second half, defensively, offensively. We had a few bad breaks. We finally made things happen in the second half, or the third quarter, and things worked out okay. But personally, I played a bad game, but the rest of the team played a good game, and I take nothing away from Montreal at all.
What makes you think you're
getting some water on your head? Personally, I missed the first two balls, and I'm not usually like that. I had a good weekend last weekend and brought the team through. Looks like you got something dripping from your ears there, boss.
It's called champagne.
It's good champagne. It's good for you.
As Tom Wilkinson says, it should be in the mouth. There it is.
There it is. I got stuck that
John,
one.
the team effort is the thing that's important.
That's right. We have a good team, and we've had a solid team all year. The coaches, right up to the management, right down to the ball boys. We're all together, and I'm glad to be part of this team.
Thank you very much. John Konahowski, our congratulations. Now let's go upstairs to Don Chevrier and Russ Jackson.
All right, we're totally safe. No champagne up here, Russ.
That's too bad.
A great football game, though. Really, many said the Eskimos would trample them, and in some areas of the game they did. But the one thing the Eskimos could not do was prevent David Green from getting some personal revenge for what happened to him in the 1978 Grey Cup game. Green, not very effective that day, said, I have to have a good Grey Cup day. He had a good game, a great game, but not enough to pull the Alouettes through.
Well, in the third quarter, he ran well, and he kept Montreal close. This time, Ron Este, who alternated from playing defensive end to that middle guard position on that 3-4 defense we heard so much about, took an inside rush. He penetrated well into the offensive backfield, but took the inside rush. And with David Green, with the great speed he has, he just gave him that loose leg and went around to the outside and went upfield for one of the many gains. He got 139 in 21 carries, but he proved he's the best runner in Canada right now. And I think in a game like this, after the emotional week of winning the Shenley Award, it's difficult to get yourself up. And he did do it, and he's been saying he can do it, and he lives up to everything he says.
You know, the surprising thing about the key touchdown that won this game for the Eskimos after Montreal had taken the lead, that is the touchdown scored by Tommy Scott, was that I thought it came at a time when the Eskimos were being contained very well. But suddenly, as the Esks have all year, one big play did it for them.
Well, Scott came in. They were giving good protection, and they pushed the offensive rush around him. He moved up into the pocket, Moon did, and Scott had ran into the middle. He'd moved into the middle, and there was sort of an inverted coverage with Harris having the short zone and UTEC having the deep outside zone. And as Scott came down and pushed to the inside, UTEC didn't get the outside position on him, and then when Scott turned it to the corner, he didn't have the position. Moon threw it to the outside, and UTEC just couldn't catch up with the play. And it's one of those things that happens, and it's not the defensive setup that Montreal likes to use. They like to have Larry UTEC in the short zone and Harris deep most of the time.
You know, we kept waiting. Terry Evanson referred to it. Could be a big turnover, a big moment. Almost happened when David Green lost control of the football for a moment, and then, luckily for the Alouettes, got it back, or at least the team did.
Well, in the fourth quarter, one of the few times they ran a trap straight up the middle, and he just seems to come out of the pile. This is that effort he has and that great balance that probably gained him 600 yards extra all year with the good balance he has. But he did get stripped of the ball here, and fortunately for the Montreal Alouettes, they kept the drive alive with Payton getting on that ball and recovering the fumble of David Green. But that was the only time David let that ball get away from him. But it's that second effort all the time that he gives you, because it looked initially that he was stopped at the line of scrimmage and he just came out of the pilot.
What a year for him. As we said earlier, the outstanding player in the country, the outstanding player in the game, and no question David Green deserved that. Many will think that the Eskimos should have figured, really, in the outcome of the Outstanding Player Awards, and you might argue that. Tom Wilkinson's point was well made. It's certainly an unusual situation to have the losing team win all three awards, but really, it's for individual effort, not in terms of the outcome of the Grey Cup game that these awards are given.
It is for that individual effort, but really, the play that turned it around in that fourth quarter was the intercept by Holloman, or by Butler, I should say. He made the intercept, and then we got the penalty call, which got the Eskimos out of a tough position. The Alouettes were moving the ball. After David Green had fumbled, they recovered it. They continued to get another first down, and then this interception. The ball was tipped. Butler came up with it. Not only did he take over the ball, but Mangold is going to come in right there for spearing with that helmet. And they got the big penalty. That moved the Edmonton Eskimos out to center field and gave them that good field position for the rest of the particular quarter. And it was only the sort of partially blocked punt by Proudfoot that really gave Montreal any decent field position to start from after that particular penalty and intercept.
Well, Terry Evanson has joined us now, and Terry, there's no question the penalties hurt Montreal dearly. They came, as we saw, at key times in the game, but all the way through, the Alouettes, having started drives deep in their own zone as it was, were losing great opportunities for conversions on mistakes through the penalty route.
Don, it's David Green's Montreal offensive team, period. Joe Scannella feels if they get 6 and 7 yards and first down, they're going to win most of their football games. But when you come up against the #1 defense in the nation, you have to pass the football. David Green ran the ball exceptionally well. We all know how great he is, but Edmonton's defense didn't break. They were resilient. They kept coming back, and they played a ball game where they can control Montreal's offense because they know when they're going to pass the football.
Well, you made a point earlier, too. You said the Eskimos, and I agree, don't have an awful lot of work to do for 1980. They've got Moon coming along. The veteran Wilkie, you think, will be back, and he probably will. The set running game of Germany and those great receivers. But the Alouettes, I think you made a good point about that, have to change. They have to play more exciting football. Sure, they've won 2 years in a row, but they haven't won the Grey Cup, and that's what they're after.
Exactly, and if they don't do it, I don't think they're going to be there, and I think the fans are going to stay away. And I want to be positive about this because Montreal fans deserve exciting football. They've got the specials, they've got the running attack, they got the defense. Just come up with the passing attack.
All right, I want to thank you and, of course, Russ, my regular sidekick through the Eastern season, for a great job today. Right now, let's go downstairs once again and check in with Don Whitman.
Well, Chevy, everybody else has been passing along greetings to folks back home. Let's start. Bob Howes, you got anybody you want to say hello to?
Yes, I sure do. All of my family back there. Mary, Bo, Chris. How you doing?
Do I detect a little gray showing up in the beard?
No gray at all, but here's some right here. I tell you what.
I knew I could not last this dressing room scene without getting some of it dumped in my head.
Pierre, that's for you. Okay, that's the media. That's for you.
Okay, now that we've dispensed with all this nonsense, this is your 6th Grey Cup trip.
Thank you.
That stuff tastes a little good. Could I have the bottle? Is it any different this time than the first one?
Oh, they're all great. I can't say which is best, but the 3 ones that we won are super. This one here I think is very, very sweet because last time we were here we really got beaten up and the field conditions, and there was a few things that weren't going our way that day, obviously from the score, but I think this one's very, very sweet to us.
Bob, the offensive line had a few more problems today than you did back in Edmonton on Thanksgiving Day.
Well, we did at the last because we didn't throw the ball anymore. We wanted to run, and you can't do the same things on this defense all the time because they're so good. We got very, very conservative, and normally that's not our kind of game plan. We should get out there and mix things up and throw and then run a little bit, but we thought maybe with the 8 points we could do it, and fortunately we did.
Basically, your plan is to throw a lot and run a little.
I think that's basically it. Yeah.
Bob Howes, congratulations, and I owe you one, but let me have some champagne while we go over to Bill Stevenson.
All right. Linebacker Tom Towns, can you imagine playing football as long as Bob Howes has?
Well, it's kind of scary, but eventually I figure after I run my term as a linebacker, they're going to ask me to add a few pounds, and maybe I can work on center position.
Centers can keep going. Have you really come to grips with the fact that you're Grey Cup champions yet? Has it sunk in?
Not really, just only 30 minutes old, I'm sure, and about a bottle of champagne later. I'm sure later I'm going to sit down with some of my teammates and we're going to talk about it.
Tom, you expected to stop the running of Montreal. Now, did your 4-man, your 3-4 defense work as well as you thought it would against David Green and company?
Well, Montreal go a little bit outside with Green. A lot of that was my fault in the first quarter. We had worked on concentrating on working with a flow and Green bending it back. And I was keying a lot on Smith, who was just an excellent blocker, one of the best in his position, I think, in the CFL. He keeps on driving. So I was keying a lot into him in the backfield. A lot of times I was trying to keep leverage on him, and he just worked to the outside. A few missed tackles, and after that we shut it out.
For the 65,000-odd fans, Tom Towns, it was a great Grey Cup game.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. All right, Whitney, take over if you've got room there.
I've got room, Bill. This always. Do you realize that the CBC spent good money for these jackets? Do you realize that, Dave Cutler?
Money they should have been getting it.
I like your outfit, Dave Cutler.
It's very, very nice. It's actually we had to give up a lot for this ball game, and my sacrifice was my clothes.
You realize you're speaking to an old Victoria boy, and we're buddies. Victoria.
I've discovered one thing: don't get champagne in your eye; it burns.
Well, especially the cheap stuff. But that's it. No, it's. Right. Are we on the air?
Indeed, we are. So
Listen,
be careful.
I got 3 guys at home. I got Scott, John, and Rob. Our 3 guys, and I'd just like to say hello, and we'll see you tomorrow. Not bad, eh, guys? And don't forget the truck out in the slough, Rob.
All right. Now, if we can get Dave Cutler out of the picture in his Hawaiian costume here, we can talk to the star of the evening, Warren Moon. Warren, for the 2nd straight week, you've come on and just done a spectacular job.
Well, that's been my role all year, is to come in and try and change the tempo of the ball game, give a little spark to the team. I sort of look at myself as a sixth man in basketball, coming off the bench and trying to spark the club, as like a Freddie Brown does for the Seattle Sonics or something like that. And it's worked out good for us this year. It's worked out good for me in the playoffs, and I'm just happy.
What did you do when you came in against the Alouettes this afternoon? What specifically did you do, in other words, different than Wilkie was doing?
Well, I've been asked that question a lot. I don't think I did anything really more different than Wilkie did. I just tried to... the microphone. I just tried to be aggressive, and I was aggressive the first part of the ball game, and the first part of the second half, and then we scored. We got a lead, and we relied on our defense and our kicking game, to keep us in the ball game. And we got a little more conservative in the fourth quarter, where we didn't try and take as many chances because we knew our defense was playing well, and it would force them into passing situations because they were coming from behind, something they don't like to do.
Warren Moon, congratulations, the highlight of your career, and what a great future you've got in front of you.
Well, I certainly hope so, but I'm going to cherish this day to day. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Warren Moon. All right, Wes.
Bill, we had to get even with the quarterback. Ed Jones. Ed, quite a ball game.
Yeah, I think we played pretty well once we got things going. That's okay, man. You look good
okay.
that way.
I look good this way.
Yeah.
Well, when you don't have much up top, you may as well put some champagne in it. That's
right.
The way it goes. Ed, this particular ball game, the crowd, what was the reaction out there? You could really hear that crowd down the field level.
Oh, yeah, it seemed like the majority of the people here were rooting for Montreal, because it seemed like when things went against them, that's when it really got loud. And I'm sure it affected the offense a little bit, because they need to hear the calls during the game.
Well, you fellas came up with the right calls during the game, a couple of big touchdowns, and congratulations on your Grey Cup victory.
Thank you.
Okay, Bill Stevenson.
It was the culmination,
A dry cleaning job is necessary.
A Grey Cup game that will go down in my memory as being one of the best. I thought it was just a great ball game, Whit.
Weather conditions absolutely ideal. Field conditions were perfect. A tremendously exciting ball game. It went right down to the finish. The Edmonton Eskimos with their second consecutive win, 17-9. And Grey Cup 79 from the Olympic Stadium in Montreal continues in a moment.
Win the individual awards. The outstanding player offense, David Green. The outstanding player defensively was Tom Cousineau. And the outstanding Canadian player was Don Sweet. But the big prize, the 1979 Grey Cup, won by Edmonton over Montreal by a score of 17-9. Grey Cup 79. Game is now history. And with it, the closing chapter of another CFL season. On behalf of the CTV and CBC networks, I'd like to thank our hard-working technical and production crews right across the country, and the executives and the players of the Canadian Football League, our sponsors without whom there would be no telecasts, and certainly you, our viewers, without whom there would be no reason to be here at all. The Grey Cup is not just a football game of winner-loser, yards gained and passes thrown. It is a way of life, a tradition, a blend of East-West unity, if you will. And it's a blend of fun and frolic. May it never end. As we have said before at this time, the new season starts tomorrow. I'm Tom McKee.